Indeed, it is The Drive, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A hearty good afternoon. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone is keeping cool. My name is Matt Murphy. I am not Brian Wilson. Brian is off this afternoon, back on Monday. I'll be here trying to hold down the fort until 7 o'clock, or they kick me off the radio, whichever comes first. Allow me, if you will, a few moments to inundate you with the pleasantries. I'll give you a couple of numbers to think about. I'll introduce you to a couple of names. I've also demanded that Cameron Smith stay in studio with us for a segment or two to explain himself, because everybody's blowing up my phone telling me that he has broken my radio show in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way.
Hey, the listeners decided what we talked about, and the interest rate caps on credit cards got everybody fighting.
That sounds fun to me. It was talking about interest rate caps.
Look, this is
Did you say caps?
Caps.
Like craps?
Caps.
Caps.
Like the tipping conversation that's evergreen. This one, I mean, people came out of the woodwork to decide what's conservative and what's not.
All right, we'll get into that in just a moment. Hang in there. Behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible. He is the one and only Chris Weber, and he joins us with a Georgia Bulldog hat on. Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
How's it going?
That's not bad. It's Friday.
Hot?
A little warm, yeah.
I made a tactical error.
What's that?
I played golf this morning.
Wow.
And I feel guilty about it? By the way, hey, Ken Weaver. Is Ken Weaver back there?
Good afternoon, boys. What's going on?
Is it not a good afternoon, Ken Weaver?
It's a great afternoon.
Oh, I thought you said not good afternoon.
I said, good afternoon.
How's it going, man?
That's going good.
Good. Glad to hear it. We're going to have fun today. We're going to talk more about Half-Head Guy.
We have to.
You should see the look that I just got from Weaver and Chris Weber.
I told you about the dream I was going to have about that guy.
Did you? Did you have the dream?
No, fortunately. But if we keep talking about him, I'm going to.
Did you have an adult beverage last night after the show?
No.
Might need to. No, we're going to talk about Half-Head Guy. We're also going to talk about my experience on the golf course, because I got a chance to talk to a good amount of people up in Goodlettsville, or just north of Goodlettsville. And I understand that we live in the state of Tennessee. I understand that the state of Tennessee in 45 days will be voting for Donald Trump for president of the United States of America. There's no question about it. I understand that most other southern states are going to follow suit. I understand that oftentimes we get so close to the forest in what we do, we cannot see the trees. However, I'm having a difficult time finding anyone in my worldview that is willing to sit down and have a conversation with me, not about why they hate Donald Trump, but why they support Kamala Harris. And I'm going to endeavor, and it might be a fool's errand, but on the drive this afternoon, I'm going to try to get someone on air to talk to us about, without argument. I'm not going to fuss at them. I'm not going to fight with them. I just want someone to tell me why they are in support of Kamala Harris without bringing up Donald Trump. That's the only rule. Tell me why you're voting for Kamala Harris and you cannot bring up Donald Trump. Tell me what she believes in, and we're going to do this starting at about 3:30 this afternoon. I'm very distracted, by the way, Cameron, because of what we were talking about a second ago, because I can't get this off my computer. And I want to talk to you guys about this today, too, as we kind of signpost where we're going in this afternoon show on the drive. So has anyone else noticed? And look, I'm all for free speech, and I love the X machine, right? Formerly known as Twitter. The X machine is a cesspool of awful people saying awful things about other awful people. It is a horrible place, and I love it. And I'm absolutely all in on it. However, I've noticed something, and it's something that I've noticed fairly recently. It was not, I don't believe, because Elon Musk bought the company, took it over, and stressed and valued free speech issues over all else. Has anyone else noticed the the growing propensity for boobies on the X machine? Anybody else?
I better take a look.
Boobies.
So I don't follow any of these people.
Not the penguins.
I was going to say, we get bird watchers? What are we talking about?
So, yeah, that's exactly right. So I have, they've got the following format, and then they've got the For You format. And so those people that I follow news organizations, I follow my fellow broadcasters, I follow Cameron Smith, I follow, anybody that I know in the industry, plus you follow news organizations that you trust, you follow things like the Babylon Bee. I believe that the Twitter universe is great for breaking news and it's great for a laugh. And other than that, it's not really a good place for debate. You're not going to change anybody's mind on there. You can have arguments if you want to have arguments. And for a long time, that's the way I did it. But I have noticed in the past, like a couple of months, that every time I open it up, it will automatically move from the following to for you. It's suggesting accounts that it thinks you will enjoy. And I don't think it's just me. I think because Cameron Smith said they're doing it to him too, where they're promoting. There's a lot of these accounts that are growing on there, and I suppose it's because Elon Musk believes in free speech and he does not regulate, monitor, nor what do they call it when they push things to the bottom of the pile and you don't see them?
Shadow ban.
Shadow ban. Yeah, he's not shadow banning any of these types of accounts. I've noticed a propensity for these things to come up, and I don't.
It can't be because I'm looking at it because I got Barstool Rocky Top here, and so I know that I don't look for that. And it's here anyway. So,
well, I don't know if anybody else has noticed this, but it's a very odd. It's a very odd dynamic that I've just noticed over the past several weeks. Anyway, it's a thought that we'll get into a little bit later on in the show. Plus, Jay St. Clair is with us on Friday. I normally have him on my broadcast between noon and 3, and we'll do that starting at 4:05 this afternoon. I wanted you to stick around because I was unable to. I was out of pocket trying to get ready for the show, and I was a little bit compressed for time because I played hooky and played golf this morning. What was your takeaway from your Bill Hagerty interview?
I really like him. Like he took the arguments in places that I didn't think he would go. For example, I said, how do we get this spending under control? And he said, well, we make people healthier. And I'm like, whoa. I didn't talk about healthcare. And his point was, well, if you look at where our spending is exploding on Medicare and Medicaid, a lot of this has to do with people not being healthy. And so if we can find the right incentives for people to be healthier, we save a lot of money, and we're not talking about that, which I thought was a great answer because, let's be honest, as far as just cutting back dollars out the door, neither Republicans nor Democrats have done a good job on that.
Why shouldn't, and I'm not trying to be argumentative, why shouldn't Republicans focus on that second part?
No, you should. I'm simply saying that the effort...
When did it become the government's job to make sure that I was healthy?
It's not.
Correct.
Yes, I know the answer there in terms of the economics of it. I can see it. And I hate to say it, but we just don't have a game plan to curtail spending. So if we can say, hey, well, I do like incentives, I'll pay attention to that. I'm not saying it's the role of government, but neither is massive multi-trillion dollar deficit spending.
Well, I understand that it is a unique approach, and I'm not poo-pooing it on its face. However, when I hear incentive, when it's coming from a politician's mouth, that means money.
Yeah, and it's also not the government.
But how do you save money by spending money?
Well, Nancy Pelosi talks about this. I mean, but I will say the flip side of that is it's also not government's role to pay for your health care when you're a slob.
Agreed.
And so since we're going to pay for your health care because you're a slob.
So we're giving that argument up?
I mean, I think it has been given up. I don't think in terms of the principle, I don't think we should. But to say, hey, if we're going to do this, then you need to be, in fact, I would be okay conditioning it and saying, hey, if you're on this government program that we're paying for, you need to be healthier. You need to make healthier choices.
I think Tim brings up an excellent point in the membersnutrition.com super text line. If living longer is not a great enough incentive to be healthier, then I'm frightened to know what the federal government's incentive package would include.
Yeah.
Maybe it would include killing you. Now that would be an incentive.
It's funny that you say that because one of the issues we were talking about smoking, right? We know that kills people, right? Well, if you have a healthier, hey, don't smoke program from the government, the problem is killing people with lung cancer or people killing themselves with lung cancer. Let's be real specific. Actually can save money because you don't have to pay for healthcare once they're dead. But the healthcare cost associated with treating can be high. So, there's some really perverse incentives in the space.
I did a thing years ago. It was an April Fool's thing that the government was announcing that because medical costs had got, I'm not making this up. This is like 8 years ago, where the government was announcing because of the rising cost of health care, that it was eliminating all the Surgeon General's warnings on cigarettes, and it was handing out free packs of cigarettes because it wanted people that had the propensity to smoke more, so that they would go ahead and die, so that they would get them off the medical rolls.
Yeah, that's actually, you can make a credible economic argument for that. I mean, it's
not
awful.
very moral.
No, it's deeply immoral and wrong. But
you know, if we're trying to save money,
dollars, man.
Dollars make sense.
Hey, vote and get some cigarettes.
So there's one thing. Anything else? You and I talked briefly right before we got on air, and I said, did he talk about who would be in leadership in the next session of Congress? And you said that you asked him the question.
I asked him, he deferred. He said, look, it's too early to say. They have to have a good relationship with Trump if he wins. I think that makes sense. I'm not aware of anybody that's running that doesn't have at least an okay relationship with Trump. He also talked about the regulatory state and said, that's where we have a huge problem. That's right off the bat. If Trump is successful, where we need to dig in is how do we make these unelected bureaucrats, again, accountable? Like, how do we, and I mentioned the REINS Act, which is regulatory reform, things like that. He's very interested in that space, and I thought that, again, was spot on of, hey, roll back the regulatory state, let free enterprise do what it does. Very positive.
So I believe, and I'm going to hit on this today, and I don't know if you had a chance to talk to him about the issue of immigration. If not, I understand why, because if everyone in the room agrees on a certain point or a certain something, then, we're not really advancing the conversation that much. And I think we all agree that we have to have a different person at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue to move the ball on the issue of the southern border. I mean, we just
absolutely
have to.
Yeah, we didn't talk about it, but I think that's why.
It's an absolute imperative. But I have noticed something, and I don't know if you've noticed it in the 2024 cycle, that the issue of mass deportation is becoming what was in 2020 the issue of mass incarceration. And Democrats are using the phraseology in the exact same way. So they vilified, they trampled all over conservatives and Republicans alike regarding, quote, mass incarceration after the BLM riots and the summer of love with George Floyd and all of that. They're doing the same thing with the issue of mass deportation. Outside of the fact that, sadly, conservatives and Republicans don't seem to have the ability to explain this in such a way where the majority of the American people recognize that there's no such thing. Right. Like, there's no such thing as mass incarceration. And there's frankly no such thing as mass deportation, except to say that we're going to enforce the laws individually on every single person that happens to be here illegally. And that collectively is going to be a lot of people that have to go back to their home country.
Sure. And people don't realize the complexity of this issue. I worked on it on Senate Judiciary. I mean, in order to send someone home, you have to establish they're here illegally, where they came from, and have a repatriation treaty with their home country. So it's complicated, and you can't do anything in mass. It is not like you could find people here without status, round them up, put them on a bus, and send them to Mexico. That's not how that works. And so that's just a talking point of the left that this is fear. And when they talk about deportations, and there would be a large number, there's a process to that.
Do you think it's a talking point for Donald Trump, though? In terms of the reality of the complexity of doing that?
I'd wrinkle it a little bit and just say, we're going to enforce the law.
Right.
Whatever you're doing is not that. We're going to enforce the law. If you're afraid of law enforcement, tell us that.
I mean, he's using the language in a way that, some would argue hands an argument to the left. Some would say he's talking in plain language and we need more of that. And I understand both arguments. But ultimately, enforcing the law would necessarily mean that a lot of people have to go back home and get into the back of the line.
Which are the immigration laws that you don't want to enforce? Because it doesn't seem like they want to enforce any of them. So you can care about migrants and say, we have a process that needs to be upheld. And that's what the left's trying to do, is say, well, you don't care about migrants. You don't care about any racial and ethnic minorities if you want to enforce the law. And that's just false. That's just not true.
On another note, before I say thank you for subbing in for me today and have a great weekend, did you see where Gavin Newsom he's got his lip pooched out about Elon Musk again?
Did I see where Elon Musk was like, everyone send your memes and AI-generated stuff to California now. Do it now.
He's like, and Gavin Newsom is saying, well, we can't rule out putting him in jail. What?
Well,
no, actually, you can rule that out.
I mean, the stuff that I've seen is fantastic. I actually asked some of your listeners, I'm like, show me what you got, people.
Come on, man.
I want to see Gavin Newsom doing a cabaret dance. There's a lot of positive deepfakes that can emerge from this. And
I want my listeners on Brian Wilson's The Drive to somehow combine the issue of Elon Musk, AI, deepfakes, and Gavin Newsom with Half-Head Guy. If we could somehow...
That's huge, man.
Put these two things, like, let Half-Head Guy pop up in every one of Gavin Newsom's press conferences, that sort of thing.
I just want an AI of Gavin Newsom in American Psycho. He looks like Christian Bale in that movie. Like, we could just do that. I mean, guys, some of you out there have the skill. Help me out.
I could see him in that slicker over his suit, with the chainsaw, dropping it down the stairwell.
Of course.
Yeah.
You like Huey Lewis?
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I think sports is what is it? Sports.
Yeah,
is one of the most underrated albums of all time.
It's terrifying.
He's doing his little dance.
Make it happen.
If you've never seen American Psycho, it's terrifying.
Wow.
All right, we'll continue this fun and frivolity. Thank you, Cameron, for filling in for me. That's really the only reason I asked you to stick around. I just wanted to thank you and to see how Bill Hagerty did.
I love you too.
Was he less nerdy?
No.
Okay, then. There's honesty from Cameron Smith, who filled in for me today. I'm in for Brian Wilson on The Drive. It's 24 after the hour already.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
A Texas man facing charges for threatening to lynch an official in Nashville. We'll tell you about it at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's not very good. Thank you, Ken Weaver. 28 after the hour. Matt Murphy in for Brian Wilson on the drive. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. A couple of additional pleasantries that I did not get to in the first segment. I got squirreled by Cameron Smith. It is my episode 656 of our visits together on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. We have 45 plus days until Election Day. I say that way because, as we established earlier in the week on my radio show, and Ken Weaver was very kind to help me in the math on this, today is 45 days plus like 10 hours before Election Day officially begins at 7 a.m., although many people are already voting.
8 hours, Brother Murphy.
Oh, 8 hours. Pardon me, Ken Weaver.
You got to get it right, Brother Murphy.
45 plus 8.
Yeah.
All right. We're counting them down. If I go to Weaver, then Weaver will tell us. I say, Ken Weaver, we should have a sounder. I say, Ken Weaver, what's the time? What? I'm going to do that next week.
Just have like a bong.
Yeah, like bong.
Yeah.
45 days, 8 hours, 46 minutes, 27 seconds. On my mark. Remember the National Observatory Naval Clock?
Yep.
You remember that?
Talked real professional.
Mm-hmm. You ever have to set the time through the Naval Observatory Clock?
I have not.
So I remember when I was 15 years old, Mike Wall, the general manager and owner of WTHO, WTWA in Thompson, Georgia, OP in Thompson, he would when
You said that in one breath. It was impressive.
Everybody puts a P in Thompson. We're like, no P in Thompson. Like we can't P. No P in Thompson. So he would go through the office building of the radio station, and we had analog clocks. And he would get on the speakerphone and he would dial the number for the National Observatory Clock. And the guy would say, "You have reached the United States National Naval Observatory Clock. At the sound of the tone, it is 3:30 and 40 seconds. Boop. You have reached the national." I mean, and it was just a loop over and over and over again. And so he would set the clocks in each room through the National Observatory Naval Clock.
Wow,
it's some
he's a
sort
stickler,
of
wasn't he?
Oh man, you got to hit that top of the. You got to hit the top of the hour. I mean, hey, you know what? It's where I learned my timing. It's where
obviously it stuck. Those lessons were worth every penny.
It's how I learned never to be late pitching to Ken in the newsroom. Oh wait, look, it's 30 after the hour on Super Talk. That's.
It is 3:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast in 5 minutes, a traffic update too. Right now in Nashville, a Texas man faces charges for threatening to kill District Attorney Glenn Funk. 59-year-old David Aaron Bloyd of Frost, Texas, allegedly threatened to lynch Funk. The arrest affidavit shows it is related to one of those marches of what officials say were hate groups here in Nashville this summer. One of the group's members got into a fight in July that led to an arrest. The Department of Justice says after that arrest of one of their members, a Telegram user associated with the group posted threats against Funk that included a picture with him in the caption saying, "Getting the rope." Right now in our nation's capital, the Secret Service releasing a report today admitting communication and drone failures before the Trump rally assassination attempt in July. Acting Director Ronald Rowe Jr.
These employees will be held accountable, and this agency has among the most robust table of penalties in the entirety of the federal government. And these penalties will be administered according to our disciplinary process.
Rose says the agency is going to rely more on technology as it shifts how it operates in the aftermath of the two assassination attempts against former President Trump this summer. Meanwhile, in our nation's capital, the House unanimously passed a bill that would require the Secret Service to apply equal standards of protection to major presidential candidates and sitting presidents. Now that bill goes to the Senate. And new information about the killing of a judge in Kentucky. CBS News is reporting the sheriff who allegedly shot and killed District Judge Kevin Mullins had been deposed on Monday in a federal lawsuit claiming he failed to investigate allegations that one of his deputies repeatedly sexually abused a woman in that same judge's chambers. Sheriff Steins was booked into the Leslie County Detention Center 2 counties away, where he remained this morning. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Happy Friday, everyone. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is a gorgeous day outside. Absolutely Chamber of Commerce if it were August or June. It is neither. It is September 20th, and it's almost 90 degrees outside. It is beautiful. There's
it's
a little bit of
94 degrees out.
Is it 94 degrees now?
Yeah.
Man, oh, man, it's too hot. Too hot. We need fall to get here. And post haste, please. Matt Murphy in for Brian Wilson. Ken Weaver's in the newsroom closet central. And then there's Chris Weber, of course, running the show, making sure that everything that comes out of our speaker sounds as good as possible. It's a beautiful day. Hope you have big weekend plans. Hope your team wins. And I can say that for everybody because our team is off, Weber.
That's true. Thankfully.
Yeah, we need it. Yeah, no doubt. No more about that. I am Weaver. I don't know where I am on your Oklahoma Sooners and the Tennessee Volunteers quite yet, but
really?
I'm rooting for a good game.
Yeah, I'm rooting for a good game and no injuries.
Yes. I'm rooting for a competitive contest well into the fourth quarter.
Right. I wish it was at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning so I wouldn't have all day to wait for an ass kick.
That anticipation will get you.
It's like whenever I was a kid and your mom would say, wait till your dad gets home.
Now, you just reminded me of a story about my grandpa, right? All right, so here it goes. My grandfather never touched me. He didn't have to because I watched him beat hell out of my brother on a regular basis, and I wanted no part of it.
Yeah.
But I'm in the 7th grade, and Ms. Bradshaw left the class, and I was kind of the class clown. And Steve Cheeley, troublemaker, dared me to moon the class.
That's all his fault.
And so what was I supposed to do?
Did he double dog dare you?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, he was going to.
Well, you got to do it.
I just got to just cut to the front of the line. Let's cut to the chase before we get to those triple dog dares. And so I went up and I mooned the class. And everybody laughed and thought it was funny. Well, Ms. Bradshaw comes back in, and so we think we're all slick and like she's not going to know, and everybody in the class is all blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I get caught, and I get suspended from school for showing my fanny for 3 days. And I was confident that my grandfather was going to beat me to death.
Yeah.
I was sure of it. The worst 2 moments of my childhood happened on that day. And that was walking into the conference room of Norris Middle School and right after school where my grandmother was sitting with my teachers and looking at the face that my grandmother was making. And it was a face of complete and total disappointment. And it destroyed me. Absolutely destroyed me.
Yeah, that would do it.
I mean, and I lost it. I started crying, doing all these things. And then we get into the truck. She had a little S10, I guess, pickup truck. Anyway, and she said, I just don't know what's going to happen when your grandpa gets home. Ooh. And so from there, we drove all the way home, didn't say a word. She said, you might want to go into your room. Ooh. And so I went into my room, and it was like the scene out of A Christmas Story when the old man gets home and he said the curse words, because I hear his truck pull up, I hear him getting out, I hear him washing up, and I hear him coming in and say, hey, what's going on? What's happening? And I hear the meh, 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 and I heard him. I remember hearing him say, has he been in there all day? And she said, yeah. And he opened the door, and he said, and I will never forget, he said, I heard you've been showing your ass at school. I said, yes, sir. And he said, they keeping you home for a couple days? And I said, yes, sir. He said, do you know what's going to happen the next time anything like this happens? No, sir. He said, I'm going to whip it until it's red. Yes, sir. He said, get your camouflage. We're going hunting.
And you didn't believe him, did you?
I was like, I think he's going out and taking me out to shoot me in the head.
I'm not going to come back.
Come back as half-head Matt. So, but it was awesome. But then I had no idea why I was not being punished by him. But my grandfather was smart enough to know that me sitting there for 3 hours waiting for him to get home.
Just thinking.
Thinking about it was punishment enough, and he didn't need to do anything else. I also found out later, when I was an adult and we talked about this, that my grandfather also thought it was one of the funniest things he'd ever heard in his life.
Oh, that makes it even better.
Because he told me later, he said, I didn't understand what the big deal was.
He just knew you got to be punished.
You got to be punished. Let's go ahead and do it. What time is the game, Ken?
The game is going to be at 6:30, I believe.
Oh, Lord, you have to wait all day?
Wait all day long. I don't know what I'm going to do.
I just
start drinking early is what I suggest.
I mean, that's an option.
That way it won't hurt as bad.
I just want it to. I just want it to be competitive. I mean, I can take a whooping. As long as it's honorable. You fight, you compete, which I know these boys are going to do. But I'm telling you, man, this volunteer offense and defense. I know they haven't played anybody, but I know what a national championship team looks like. Or
Boy,
at
they
least,
look good.
I know what a team looks like that can compete for a national title. And right now, I know which team tomorrow in Norman does not look like that. That's what I'm gonna say.
Well, it's in Norman.
Yeah.
I don't know that you guys have played an offensive game like you're capable of, and I think you got a great defense.
We got a good defense. We do that.
You know what we're going to know after the game tomorrow?
How good of a defense.
Because I promise you, the offense y'all are playing is pretty good.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty good.
I'm just excited to have the Sooners in the SEC.
I am excited to be in the SEC. I really am.
Missouri, tell me if you feel differently, Chris. The Missouri Tigers have never felt right.
Totally agree.
Never felt right. Yeah. And they've been here.
That's Midwest.
The Oklahoma Sooners already feel more of the fabric of the SEC than Missouri ever had.
I'll agree with that. Yep.
And I love y'all, Vanderbilt, but I guess you're just collecting your checks.
Yeah, I guess. That's it.
Well, they're going to be operating on us later.
Let's be nice.
You're going to ship all the wounded Sooners to Vandy. That would be nice of Vandy. That would be like an olive branch of friendship. Welcome to the SEC. We will operate on all of your injuries for free.
No charge.
No charge. That's pretty good. Well, it should be a lot of fun. Hope everybody has a great weekend. So we're going to get into Kamala and Oprah. Kamala went back into word salad mode. And if you missed it, and most of you did based on the numbers, it was as bad as you might expect. It was an absolute love fest with a lot of word salads that meant a lot of nothing. We're going to talk about that a little bit more later on today. We're also going to talk free speech, and I'm going to do that right now. So if you've been following me on my show, and I know many of you cannot catch it during the day between noon and 3, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to all of you from 3 until 7 when Brian Wilson has a day or so off. Well, I am passionately defensive of the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States for good reason. From a historical standpoint, and many of you, and I understand that I'm kind of preaching to the choir in as much as many of you already know this, but for those of you in the back or for those of you in Aniana that need to know this, the Founding Fathers debated the Bill of Rights more in as much as they thought it was unnecessary to write it down, that it was needlessly cumbersome, because who wouldn't understand that God gave man certain inalienable rights? They put it in the Declaration, right? So who wouldn't understand that the government should not encumber someone from the ability to speak freely of their own volition in a way befitting their feelings on any particular governmental matter? They didn't feel like they necessarily needed to state the obvious when it came to the quartering of soldiers in one's house against one's will, or the improper search and seizure. But many voices within the Continental Congress recognized, and as they were structuring the Constitution of the United States, recognized that perhaps men of generations later would not see so clearly the importance of having these individual rights. And thank God those voices prevailed. And so they wrote it down. The First Amendment is first for a reason. It's the most important. The Second Amendment, it could be argued, should be the first, in as much as that's the one that protects all the others. And they go, I don't think, necessarily in order of importance from there, but I've always considered the First Amendment to be number one for a reason, because it is so important. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. We have a political party in the United States of America right now on this September 20th, 2024, that's openly arguing against the basic foundation of our individual liberty in this country, the freedom to express yourself in a manner of your choosing. And they have determined that now is the time to strike out against the First Amendment in such a way that they could literally jail people for their thoughts, for expressing their thoughts, for expressing how they feel about different things, or for expressing things that are deemed to be erroneous. Do you understand how dangerous this is? And we're living in this world where Tim Walz said something the other day, and I'm going to play it for you in a minute. He should be laughed off the national stage by everyone. I don't care what your politics happen to be. You're willing to give up your individual liberties. Do you not think they'll come for you? Do you not think they'll come for you? Do you not think at some point that you'll say something that is deemed unacceptable as well? Or are you willing to be that dutiful sheep that falls in line and does whatever you are told, so long as you are fed on the regular and protected by Mother Government? It's a dangerous time. I'll tell you what Tim Walz said if you've not heard it in just a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Take your telephone calls as well on the drive. 615 all day long. It's a First Amendment Freestyle Friday for me. This is the way I do it. First Amendment Freestyle Friday. You know, Brian is your friend and radio buddy. Matt's your friend and radio troublemaker. He's your farb. I'm your fart. And it's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
I'm going to give it away. We're going to do TikTok today.
Oh, TikTok or talk?
Talk.
Okay.
TALK.
Spring is here. Today we're going to talk about ticks. Bugs are coming out. Unfortunately, ticks are coming out. People are going to be out in the woods. First, the types of ticks.
American dog tick, the black-legged deer tick, the Lone Star tick. We've got a Gulf Coast tick. Got a new one coming in, the longhorn tick. These are the ones we need to watch out for. 75% of vector transmitted diseases now are from ticks. Rocky Mountain spotted fever, rickelosis, tularemia, Lyme disease, almost flu-like. You're going to run a fever. You may or may not get a rash in the saliva. They secrete the cement to glue themselves in.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's great.
So you need to get some tweezers, get down on that capitulum and grab it and pull the tick off. Do not grab the body. A lot of people think ticks drop out of trees. They don't drop out of trees. And they can't jump. And they can't fly.
So they're in the leaves, on the plants and things.
On the grass,
on the
leaves of the grass. And they do this number with their front legs. And that's called questing. They are sensing a prey item coming by. They'll take those legs and latch on and then crawl up.
And then there you go. You're battling it.
A Texas man is accused of threatening to lynch a Nashville official. We'll tell you what the Department of Justice is doing about it at 4 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Weaver. We've got about a minute or so left. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll reset and, well, it's 8 seconds long. I can play this. Here's Tim Walz attacking you and attacking your First Amendment rights.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
Y'all want to tell him? I mean, if y'all want to tell him, y'all can tell him. I can tell him too, but I mean, if y'all want to tell him, y'all can tell him. Does somebody have his number? Somebody should tell him. Do you think he knows? Somebody should tell him. I'll tell you what. When we come back after Ken's news, we'll tell him. On Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Four o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Another traffic update, too. Right now in Nashville, the Department of Justice is charging a Texas man with threatening to kill District Attorney Glenn Funk. They say it's related to one of the marches by what officials said were hate groups earlier this summer. One of the group's members was arrested after getting into a fight downtown in July. Well, Department of Justice says after that arrest, someone posted an image depicting Funk getting lynched. They say they traced that social media post to 59-year-old David Aaron Bloyd of Frost, Texas, facing charges of making threats of violence against an elected official. A new report from the Secret Service admits communications and drone capabilities failure in the first Trump assassination attempt this summer. Here's Stephen Poitnora with more.
The acting Secret Service director says his agency failed to ensure that local law enforcement would fully protect the AGR building, which shooter Thomas Crooks used as a perch.
There was an assumption that they had it covered, but there clearly was not that follow-up to make sure.
Ronald Rowe also says agents relied too heavily on cell phones to communicate. He promises accountability, and he says the service will need more technological resources and more manpower.
We need a shift in paradigm and how we conduct our protective operations.
Now, prior to this new report, the U.S. House unanimously passed a bill to require the same level of protection to major presidential candidates as sitting presidents. Now it's up to the Senate. And new information about the killing of a judge in Kentucky. CBS News is reporting the sheriff who allegedly shot and killed District Judge Kevin Mullins had been deposed on Monday in a federal lawsuit, with a woman claiming one of Sheriff Mickey Stein's deputies had sexually abused her for 6 months in exchange for staying out of jail. But Sheriff Steins failed to investigate. This woman claims the sex took place inside that judge's chambers. As for the shooting, authorities say the judge and the sheriff were arguing beforehand, but they say they don't know what that argument was about. And right now in Aurora, Colorado, police officials holding a briefing to say claims that Venezuelan gangs are controlling areas of that city are untrue.
Former President Trump has talked about going to Aurora, Colorado because of a video that went viral over the summer showing armed men at an apartment complex. It's been claimed they were Venezuelan gang members who have overtaken apartment complexes. Aurora Police Chief Todd Chamberlain says he wants to make it clear that is not true.
Gangs are not in control of the city of Aurora.
Contrary to claims, he says they have no evidence a gang is charging apartment residents rent or that the suspects seen in that viral video are even gang members.
That's Alex Stone reporting, and the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionality, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Very excited about the next hour of the show. Excited about the next 3 hours. Really, Matt Murphy in for Brian Wilson this Friday afternoon. Hope your Friday's going well. Hope you got big weekend plans. Hey, speaking of the weekend, Ken, I just looked something up, and I think you'd like to know it. I don't know is Weaver back there? Is he back there?
It looks like he stepped out.
All right, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait.
Save that.
Can I tell you? Should I share this with him? In the first 3 games of the season, Tennessee has outscored their opponents 191-3. I'm sorry, 191-13.
Oh, well, that's not so bad.
191-13, and that's the greatest point differential in the first 3 games opening up a season in SEC history.
Of course, they did get 2/3 of that last weekend against Kent State. So.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
It did take an onside kick when it was 30-0 in the first quarter for that to be accomplished.
How do you even score 30 points at a quarter?
They scored 37.
Yeah.
In the first quarter.
Man.
Thank you to the onside kick. I don't know. You stop quickly and you score quickly. That's the only way that I can figure it out.
Yeah.
If we knew that, Weber, we would not be woefully underprepared on our offensive side of the football to take on the Crimson Tide.
I knew it was that easy.
Come on. Yeah, sure. You guys got it easy. Anyway, but I'm very excited about this hour because we're going to be furthering a conversation about the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States. We do this once a week on the Matt Murphy radio show, and when we are in for Brian Wilson on Fridays, we do it during the 4 o'clock hour on The Drive. My great friend Jay St. Clair is a legal expert. He is a fine legal mind, the finest one that I've ever met. He works for a company called Littler Mendelson. I think that's still called Littler Mendelson. I know it's Littler. Jay will correct me if I'm wrong. But he is not only a fine legal scholar, he is a great life consultant. He is also a pretty good gambling buddy and golfer in his own right. Ladies and gentlemen, at 9 minutes after 4 o'clock, it's time for Friday. Good morning. He's also, I failed to mention, he is a great Tennessee man himself, born and raised in the Sequatchie Valley. It only took him about 3 years to teach me how to say that correctly. I also happen to know, thanks to Jay St. Clair, that as he was growing up in Dunlap, Tennessee, there was only one red light. I think they have more than one now, Jay. Good afternoon, my friend. How are you?
Hey, buddy. If I were any better, I would be Mrs. Beast.
Oh, man, she's got it good.
She's got it great.
She has it good. Although, Jay, I got to tell you, she has become obsessed. I don't know if the mole/vole issue that we have in the backyard, and we're not really sure which. You taught me that there was a difference.
Absolutely.
I don't know if they, their activity levels rise as summer becomes fall, but I take great delight in watching Mrs. Beasley track the moles/voles. She's above ground and they're underground, but she's tracking them.
She's tracking. Smell them.
Oh, yeah.
She smells them.
Oh, yeah. And it is bred into her DNA to want to get in that hole.
Absolutely. No, she's a
little terrier.
Well, Jack Russell.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And they are bred to go down into the hole and retrieve the critter. That's why they got that big old jaw. I'm not making this up.
I know.
They are bred to go down in the hole, grab the critter with those lock jaws, and pull them out.
Well, I have literally had the conversation where you'll get it, where like, why is she doing that? Why does she do that? It's like it is literally in her DNA to do that.
Absolutely. That's her job.
That's her
job, and no one had to train her to do that.
Oh, man, oh, man. Well, your job is to teach us about the law, Jay, and I'm excited about this afternoon. We should have a good time. But before we get into legal matters, before we talk about 1A and get some questions in, and by the way, all of you that don't get a chance to catch Jay during the day, this is a great opportunity for you to ask any legal question on your mind. Just hit us up on the super text line, 615-737-9986, and Jay will answer all because, Jay, what do you like to say about your answers to these legal matters?
Well, there's two things. One is free legal advice is worth exactly what you pay for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing to remember is I'm often wrong, but never in doubt. I'll have an answer. It's like Jack Nicholson in A Few Good Men. Tom Cruise keeps pushing me. He says, Colonel, do you have an answer? Of course I have an answer. Well, what's your answer? I don't have a clue. That's my answer.
And you can't handle the truth. Well, before we get into that, I want to find out, because, Bristol's this weekend, Jay. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Oh, well, Junior's racing tonight.
Is he really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's running the Xfinity race.
How about that? Let me tell you.
If I hope to goodness SVG stays as far away from Junior as he can in that race.
Well, let me tell you, that race at Watkins Glen was awesome, and I think he got hosed. But it was a great race. That was
great. And, world-class athlete. Nobody bats 1,000, right? I mean, and even the great SVG makes mistakes.
But I loved his response to it.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. I love everything about this guy. He reminds me so much of Marcus Ambrose, and I shouldn't be surprised because Marcus is apparently mentoring him. But he's just got this happy-go-lucky feel about him, and always smiling and drop kicking the rugby ball into the stand.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's an incredible world-class athlete. No,
and for those not interested, or for those who perhaps missed it, they were racing at Watkins Glen, and Shane Van Gent. I can't even. Can I just go SVG? SVG,
yep.
Who is from? Is he New Zealand or Australia, Jay? New Zealand. Great driver down there, and he came to the Xfinity Series, and I think he's driving Cup next year, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, he came up here. It was going to be a one-off race. Justin Marks, he's a great guy. He's bringing in these international drivers for one race.
Yeah, local guy, right here in Franklin. Yeah, Justin.
Yeah. And it was the Chicago street race, first time they raced on the street race. So SCG comes over here, and the first time he drives a Cup car, wins the race.
And for those, I mean, he's competing against some of the best drivers on planet Earth. Oh, yeah, he gets into this car. The car has the steering wheel on a different side of the car than he normally races in, right? I mean, everything about this vehicle is different. Except,
absolutely, he used to shift him with his left hand.
Right. And the only thing that's not different is it got four wheels on, it's got a motor, and it's got a brake, and it's got a gas pedal. And he won.
On that point, one of the funniest things I've heard, he's racing at Talladega, right? And they're drafting, and they're so close, right? And so his spotter comes on, and he says, he's about 3 feet behind you. And he says, I have no idea what a foot is. Can you tell me that car length? Hey, mate, I have no idea what a foot is.
I've not heard that. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what a foot is.
I have no idea what a foot is.
That's awesome.
That's fun.
Well, just to complete the circle, he was driving Watkins Glen, and he was either in the lead or real close to the lead, and I think he was in the lead and got overtaken. And
well, now what happened is he pushed the leader aside going into turn one on the 2 laps to go. I mean, he just kind of pushed him out of the way and he kept the lead for a lap, but he knew if Chris Buescher ever got there, he was going to give it back to him. And so he went into this real tight little corner chicane, they call it. And I think he just carried a little bit too much speed in there, and he hit the wall.
Yeah.
Going into the corner. And so Chris passed him on the last lap and won the race.
Well, and there's something about that accent that makes everything he says cool, because they're interviewing him after. Well, just drive an arrow, mate. Just drive an arrow. Just, got in there a little hot. I knew. And he said, I knew he was coming back for me, so I knew I had to step on the gas. And, there you go.
Reminds me of our days in iRacing, man. If some guy ever rubbed up against you, if you got back,
well, I mean, it changed my world when I started communicating with those folks and started listening to how they were talking about me. I'm like, oh man, I might want to stop wrecking everybody. Jay, Bristol's coming up this week. It should be a heck of a lot of fun for those of us into NASCAR, and I absolutely love that track. And one of these days, it's on my bucket list to make you go back, Jay, because that is just a bull ring. I mean, it is crazy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the last great Coliseum.
Amen. Jay, I know you. I don't know. Do you still teach your class at Cumberland?
I do.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Sure do.
And I know that over the years that we have been having these conversations, we have occasionally touched on the First Amendment. And you do such a great job of explaining the importance of the First Amendment, in particular to your freedom to express one's self, and where those freedoms begin and where they end and who they apply to. And I thought it a good time to speak on these matters because we've got a vice presidential candidate of the United States of America saying some things that I don't think, well, I'm going to let him, just going to play this clip. It's 8 seconds long. We'll listen to it. And I just want you to talk about the First Amendment and how it really does make America such a unique place in terms of our value of civil liberties. Here's Tim Walz, vice presidential candidate for the Democrat Party in a race to be decided on November 5th, talking about the First Amendment.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
He said there's no guarantee for free speech when you are misinforming people or when you are engaging in hate speach. Jay, do you agree? Do you agree with that?
Well, where did he get his law degree, man? Walmart?
I don't know.
I believe he got his law degree at Walmart. You know, in the South, we add an S to it.
And sometimes you can throw a "the" in there. The Walmarts.
Oh, the Walmarts, yeah. No, he's wrong on both counts, man. Disinformation, the way he means disinformation, is protected by the. Well, let's talk about where are the rules. Let's look at it from 50,000 feet. Let's start. What's your producer's name, man?
Chris Weber's producing the show today.
Okay. So, Chris, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Let's suppose that you or one of your friends, well, you're going with one of your friends to the Walmarts, and your friend is wearing a T-shirt with the Confederate flag on front of it. And you're going in, and there's the greeter there, and he says, I'm sorry, sir, you can't come into the store wearing that T-shirt. You either have to take the T-shirt off or you can't come in. Is he violating the First Amendment?
Yes.
A lot of people think that. A lot of my law students, Chris, think that. Let me see if I'm going to, instead of the answer is no. I'm at many years ago, I went to Matt Murphy's house to watch the Tennessee-Georgia game.
He did.
And then it quit being fun.
Well, for some of us.
And Matt said, Jay, come on over, bar's open, all the food you want, but I'm going to tell you this right now. If you start singing Rocky Top, I mean, if I hear good, you're out.
You're out.
You're out. You're going home. I don't care whether you whoop or not. You're never even going to get a chance to whoop. You don't have to whoop in Rocky Top, don't you, man?
I'm told that at some point in the song, I never get that far, but I'm told at some point in the song, the volunteer faithful, they engage in a lusty whoop.
Yeah.
Is that right? In my house, Jay, you're never getting to the whoop.
No, you never get to the whoop. So if he tells me that, Chris, that he says, if you sing Rocky Top, I am kicking you out of my house, is he violating the First Amendment?
No, it's his house.
That's right. That's exactly right. And because the First Amendment applies only to the government. It says Congress shall make no law. It doesn't apply to the Walmarts. It doesn't apply to Matt Murphy. It doesn't apply to X, formerly known as Twitter. It doesn't apply to Facebook or any of those ding dong.
Or radio stations are a little bit different because there's a relationship there with the government, right?
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that's different. Now, you do have FCC rules that govern what you can and can't say. But no, I don't think that makes y'all.
But if my bosses came in and said, Murphy, you got to cut out that Friday segment. We can't have that anymore. I couldn't say, well, hold on, you're violating my First Amendment.
Yeah, no, no.
Right.
I'm not the government.
Right. So
that's the first thing is got to be the government that's doing it. And then here's the other thing, Chris. and this is maddening. This is another reason people don't like lawyers. The First Amendment, I'm pretty sure I have this memorized exactly right. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. Congress shall make no law abridging the freedom of speech. Chris, what is your guess of how many laws Congress has passed restricting speech?
I'm going to guess quite a few.
Hundreds.
Bunch of them. All right, let's hold. All right, let's hold right there. It's a great place to pause because I love this lesson that Jay teaches because it's such an important one to understand the First Amendment, who it applies to, who it doesn't apply to, and where it matters with regard to what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz happen to be saying about it in the presidential campaign. It's 23 after the hour. We're in the midst of Friday. A lot of you have questions that you're lining up, and we'll get to each of those questions as well on Friday on The Drive. I'm in for Brian Wilson. It's Matt Murphy on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Right now, seeing a report that a child has been shot in Nashville and a suspect is on the loose. District Attorney Glenn Funk, the subject of a threatening social media post. I'll tell you what the Department of Justice is doing at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you much, Mr. Ken Weaver. About 2 minutes until that time. A couple of minutes with Jay St. Clair to wrap up our lesson on the First Amendment of the Constitution of the United States of America as it applies to the United States government. So, Jay, a couple of minutes to kind of round this out, and then we'll start taking some telephone calls right after the break. So, just pick it up.
I got it. So let's start first with misinformation. I don't like that word. I don't know what it means. It's a very imprecise word. What he's saying is that if presidents claim that no soldiers have lost their life under his administration, and that is an easily provable lie. If he's saying that person should go to jail for that, I disagree with that. That's a lie. But I don't think that's criminal. If somebody says that there's no current soldiers in active war zones, that's a provable lie. That's misinformation. If he's saying that a candidate can go to prison for that, I disagree with that. If somebody says that they're eating cats and dogs in some town in Ohio, and I don't know whether that's true or not, to be honest with you. Some people say it's true, but I think that's what he means by misinformation. I think his definition of misinformation is any facts that hurt our campaign. Well, no, that is protected by the First Amendment. What is not protected is libel or slander, saying intentionally false statements about particular people intended to hurt them. So there are some lies that are not protected by the First Amendment, but not the kind of political comments that he's talking about. Same thing about hate speech. It is very much protected by the First Amendment. But there is a line, when you get to really violent statements, man, to say, I hate all Jews, that is not, that's protected. That's not against the law. I know where a family of Jews are. I'm driving over there right now to kill them. You can be arrested and sent to prison for saying that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, it's a great way to put it.
Yep, that's exactly right. The statement has to likely to bring about imminent lawless action. So I can say all day long that I hate Jews or I hate Arabs, but when I say I'm going to go kill this Jew right now, then I go to prison.
Let's hold it right there. I want to go over a little more on hate speech in just a moment. Then we'll get to Kelly and Michael and Greg and your call for our man, Jay St. Clair. It's Friday in progress. It is 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.30 on the dot this Friday afternoon. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Nashville, Channel 4 says a child has been shot in Antioch and the suspect is on the run. This apparently happening at Cedar Point Parkway. Channel 4 says that this child was a juvenile running away from a fight and got shot while running away. District Attorney Glenn Funk is the subject of a threatening social media post. It says he should be lynched. Channel 4 says a Texas man has been arrested and charged for it. The Department of Justice saying 59-year-old David Aaron Bloyd of Frost, Texas, posted a picture of Funk with the caption, "Getting the rope," and an emoji finger pointed toward Funk's image. It came after a member of a group officials say was part of a white supremacist march in Nashville in July, who was arrested after getting into a fight. Bloyd facing charges for making threats against an elected official. Money news, Daria Albinger says stocks finished mixed.
A quiet finish to a record-setting week for stocks. The Dow rose 38 points to close at an all-time high, while the S&P fell 11 and the Nasdaq gave up 66. The markets were higher for the week. FedEx dragged on the market after its profit and revenue for the latest quarter missed analysts' expectations. Shares of Trump Media fell to new lows on the first day former President Trump could sell his stake in the company behind the Truth Social platform. The House approved a resolution that would overturn a new Biden administration rule on automobile emissions. Republicans say it would force Americans to buy unaffordable electric vehicles that many don't want. The rule comes as EV sales, which are needed to meet the standards, are beginning to slow. The measure faces an uncertain future in the Senate, but if it passes there too, President Biden is likely to veto it. A strike by Boeing factory workers is almost certain to enter a new week, although talks are continuing.
That's the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. There is breaking news concerning the Securities Exchange Commission and some actions that they are taking against the X machine, a.k.a. Twitter. We'll share some of that with you in the 5 o'clock hour this afternoon. We will also talk about Marsha Blackburn's race against Gloria Johnson and whether or not you believe that it would be worth anyone's time to have a debate between the Republican and the Democrat in that race, considering that Marsha Blackburn is currently beating Gloria Johnson about 2 votes to 1 in all of the latest polls that I have seen. That is on the way. Plus, we'll talk mass incarceration versus mass deportation, what are the differences and whether those things actually exist. Right now, we're talking with Jay St. Clair. It's Matt Murphy in for Brian Wilson on The Drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I want to finish up on this concept of hate speech and then get to some calls, Jay, and some questions on the membersnutrition.com super text line. We are somewhat of a standalone, I believe, in my research on it. In as much, maybe not a standalone, perhaps that's not a good term to use, but we certainly are unique in the sense that we have language within our foundational document that prevents lawmakers from passing legislation, as they have done in many different countries around the world, making quote-unquote hate speech an illegal activity. And that's what fascinates me more than anything about Tim Walz's statement there. I mean, he directly contradicts what is easily demonstrable in our history, that hate speech is not illegal in the United States of America. And the courts have pretty regularly ruled that the First Amendment prohibits any language or laws that would make it illegal.
Everything you said was said exactly correct, man.
Well, thank you, Jay.
Where'd you get your law?
I know. I just hang around with a lawyer and hit golf balls.
You
with
got
it.
it on the golf course and in the casino.
I got my law degree from Timberline Golf Course in Callear, Alabama.
No, you said it exactly right. We are singular. I think the United States is the only country in the world that has a broad constitutional protection of free speech. Is broader than any other country. There's no doubt about that. In fact, I'm not sure anybody else is very close. And that's why it's troubling that Walz, is it Walz?
Yeah, Tim Walz, W-A-L-Z.
And my, I don't know. He's not a lawyer, so I don't, but he knows what he's saying is wrong. I don't know politicians. I don't know. I can't speak for what's in their mind, but it is as wrong as Kamala saying that there are no soldiers from the United States currently in war zones. It is a demonstrably false, or Biden saying that no soldiers have been killed during his administration. It is easily proven wrong with those statements. But that's the world we live in.
And no, it's true.
Thank goodness for Elon Musk.
I fear that Tim Walz has gotten a hold of your phone right now and is screwing around with it because we lost the last couple of things. But I'll tell you what we'll do. I'm going to put you in lock mode, and I'm going to get Kelly to ask a question about, guess what? Wait, before you ask your question, Kelly, and by the way, hello, Kelly. How are you?
Hello. Happy Friday, fellas.
Happy Friday. Nice to see you. Jay, would you care, based on recent visits together on these Fridays, would you care to guess the subject that Kelly wants to talk about?
Golly, man. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I'm working on during the break. I am torn between the Tennessee Vols and scrambled eggs.
Oh, man, we got a great comment on scrambled eggs, but this one is about non-competes. I bet that would have been your third guess. Kelly, what's your thought or your question?
So I have been employed with a company well over 10 years, and I'm pretty sure I signed a non-compete, back in the day. I've looked in all my files. I can't find it, and obviously I don't want to ask for it right away, but it's also not on our HR online stuff where all of our forms are. The company has gone through quite a few changes over the decade plus. And my question is, I'm going to be looking at making a jump to a different company on some level, they could be competitors, but my role is going to be considerably different, going from sales to management. So just wonder if you have any advice for me.
Kelly, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Will you be managing a sales force?
No, I will not be actually managing any personnel whatsoever.
Okay. And you know customer contact?
Say again?
No customer contact?
Will you interface directly with customers?
No, that's really not my primary role. I'm more strategic and mergers and acquisitions and product development, processes, that kind of thing.
So tell me again your question, Kelly.
Just wondering, based on what I've told you so far, and I know that's not terribly fair, but is that going to a different position and different scope of work, does that play into this? Because, like I said,
it helps you a lot. It helps you a lot. Here's what I would do. I would continue to pursue the job, and hopefully you'll get an offer. At some point during this process, they may ask you, do you have a non-compete? And then you got to answer that truthfully. And what I'm hearing you say, the truthful answer is, I don't know. I don't have a copy, and I can't find any. I don't know if I have one or not. And then, we'll see what they say. They may say, well, you got to find out first.
Well, we have had that conversation, and for my own due diligence, and I would like to have a little more under my belt before I, pop the lid. And my next point was just to maybe flat out ask for it. But
do you think? Can I ask a question here, Jay? I just want to, Kelly. Do you think it would cause without delving into your company and its nature? What if you just said, "Hey, I've lost my copy of my contract, and I'm just updating my files. Can I get you to get me a copy of my contract?"
Well, I plan on doing that once I have my other ducks in a row on the other side.
Yeah, but you don't have an employment contract, do you, Kelly?
No.
That's right.
And I've read somewhere along the way that when you sign a non-compete, you're supposed to get something in exchange for that. And the best I can reckon is that when I originally was employed, I can find my personal folder at home that has my original offer letter from 10 plus years ago. But
the non-compete is probably going to be a standalone document, Kelly.
Yeah.
And I would just keep pursuing the job with a new company. If they ask you, you said they already have asked you about the non-compete, right?
Yeah. And we're at the point where it's time to, make a decision. So I just want to.
Are they telling you that you have to go find out if you have one or not?
No, they've asked, and I'd like to know for myself because I really don't want to get into any kind of. Honestly, the difference between the companies is like micro versus Fortune 500 companies. So it's.
But here's the deal, Kelly. I'm just going to give it to you straight. That even if you go get the non-compete, let's say there is one, and you read it, you're not going to get a crystal clear answer on whether it's enforceable or not. These are very tricky, very fact specific, and so you're the only thing you're going to find out is if you do have a non-compete, there is a possibility that they will want to fight with you about it. That's the only thing you're going to find out. But you're really not going to find out anything much about what the likelihood of that fight being. I'll say this, the fact that you're not selling in the new job is a huge difference. Huge difference.
My title would be something completely unrelated.
Yeah, well, it's not the title so much as the duties. Here's the real basis for non-competes. Let's say a stockbroker is the best example of where non-competes make some sense. The person starts off as a stockbroker or a banker or something like that and has no customers at all. And the company spends $250,000 to teach this guy to be a stockbroker. And he builds up a book of business of $1 million. Well, when he leaves, he's got a pretty good chance of taking that $1 million worth of business with him. You're not going to take any business with you. Right? There's no customers or clients that are going to follow you and go to the new company. And that's what non-competes are intended to prohibit. So if I think that you're at a very low risk of them coming after you, I would pursue the job. I would not, but if you want peace of mind, then you just got to ask them, hey, do I have a non-compete? Well, they don't know you're looking for a job.
Yeah, sure. One more question, and I appreciate your input. Thank you both. Is there any consideration to geography or duration of time?
Well, see, that's what we got to see the non-compete. It may be limited in scope to 30 miles.
Yeah.
Let's say that's where having the document would help. But yes, it's not uncommon at all. Well, like in the radio industry, man, I can tell you this, that the non-competes there generally cover just as far as their antenna will go.
Right, market specific. Although, without getting into the weeds, sometimes that has changed recently over podcasting and that sort of thing. But yeah, a lot of times they're market specific. So
yeah, no, that's right. So yeah, but even then, unless are you moving to Alaska?
No, I have no plans to leave this fine city in Middle Tennessee.
Well, Kelly, let us know how it goes. I mean, good luck, and please call us back and let us know if it goes okay. All right, or if you have any other questions. All right,
absolutely no, and go Vols.
Oh, boy, there we go. There we go. It was going so well. No, she's done, Jay. She left.
I was going to ask her how she cooks scrambled eggs.
Well, here's the deal, and we'll wrap it up here because we sadly we are running out of time, and I apologize to all of you on the phone lines, but we'll do it again next week. Don't worry about it. But here's what I would say to you. I'll leave you with this, Jay. Know that you are making a difference in Middle Tennessee. When I read you this text from 5411, who says, and he gave me some credit for this, but I don't take any credit. He says, you and Jay have changed my scrambled egg game forever. Add salt after cooking. My mom was wrong. Well, there you go.
Well, it's just great. It's changed my life. And I'm a man of simple pleasures. Here's what I want next week. Instead of people calling in and asking me questions, I want somebody to tell me how to clean the blame windows in my truck. I am good at a lot of things, but I cannot clean windows in a truck.
Just roll them down.
Ken Weaver said just roll them down, Jay. Just,
Ken's the guy, when you have the idiot light that's staying on the dash.
Uh-huh.
You know what Ken's solution to that is?
What's that?
Put a piece of electrical tape
that's exactly. That was my grandpa's solution to it, buddy. Jay, thank you, man. I'll talk to you soon. Love you, brother.
See you, buddy.
There's Jay St. Clair. Jay remembers that story. My grandfather had an S10, a Ford S10, or Chevy, I guess it was, S10, and could not stand on an electrical light. My grandfather was a mechanic for a living. He was a mechanic. Could not get the engine light to go off on his truck. It worried him for 8 months. And one day he calls me at school and he goes, hey, I fixed that engine light. And I said, how'd you do it? He said, put a piece of electrical tape over it. Hadn't thought about it since. It's like, good for you. Speaking of Ken Weaver, we got a newscast coming up in less than 10 minutes. We've got this break to take on The Drive. No Brian Wilson, Matt in for Brian on Super Talk.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
5 o'clock on the dot this Friday afternoon. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. And right now in Nashville, police looking for a suspect after a shooting in Antioch. Channel 4 says a juvenile was shot running away from a fight at Cedar Point Parkway near an apartment complex. A school bus had just let some kids out. Then a group of kids show up. That's whenever that one juvenile took off running and was shot. Apparently, there was a pre-planned fight there at the scene. Police are looking for that suspect. The Department of Justice charging a man for making threats on the life of District Attorney Glenn Funk. 59-year-old David Aaron Bloyd of Frost, Texas, allegedly posted to Telegram an image of Funk with the words, "getting the rope," and a finger emoji pointing at Funk. Authorities say the post was in response to the arrest of a member of whom officials say was a white supremacist march in Nashville in July. And right now in our nation's capital, the Secret Service report released today admits communication and drone failures before the Trump rally assassination attempt in July. Acting Director Ronald Rowe.
It's important that we hold ourselves accountable for the failures of July 13th and that we use the lessons learned to make sure that we do not have another failure like this again.
At least 5 Secret Service officials involved in planning Trump's Butler, Pennsylvania rally put on administrative duty. Meanwhile, in our nation's capital, the House approving a bill today that would require the same level of protection for major presidential candidates as sitting presidents. That bill headed to the Senate. And in Kentucky, that judge's murder update.
I'm still in shock. It's unreal.
That's attorney Jennifer Taylor telling us Whitesburg is a tight-knit Appalachian town of about 1,700 people. And Sheriff Mickey Steins and Judge Kevin Mullins were close friends. She's still trying to process it all.
Mickey and Kevin were really close and good friends. That's the thing, is I never saw any hostilities between them. This community sort of gets along with each other.
Well, CBS News is reporting Sheriff Steins had been deposed in a federal lawsuit on Monday that accused him of ignoring allegations by a woman that one of Steins' deputies sexually abused her for months in exchange for being kept out of jail. That sex happening in that judge's courtroom. Hezbollah confirms Israel's defense forces killed one of its leaders today, Ibrahim Akil, killed in an airstrike on Lebanon today. Here's Marcus Moore.
Israel's IDF spokesperson, he said that the commanders that they struck were gathering underground and that Hezbollah was planning to invade communities in northern Israel and take residents hostage.
Yeah, this leader killed today was a member of Hezbollah's Jihad Council and is thought to have played a role in the 1983 bombing of the U.S. Embassy in Beirut. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
8 minutes after 5 o'clock, it is The Drive. No Brian Wilson today. Brian off on assignment, as they say. Always like when they say that. Brian Wilson is on assignment.
What's the assignment? We can't say.
We'll know. He's on assignment. You'll know when it's time to tell you. That's on a need-to-know basis. And you, my friend, do not need to know. That's the voice of Chris Webber. He's back behind the glass, making sure that everything that comes out of our speakers sounds as good as humanly possible. There's Ken Weaver. He's in News Closet Central. He's delivering headlines from said same. And my name is Matt Murphy, subbing in for Brian Wilson, who will be back on Monday. Now, I've got a couple of things to go over with you. We'll talk about this SEC Twitter stuff. But I want to start by inviting you to pick up your telephone and call us. But I want a specific type of telephone call. Now, if you want to call to express your opinion about where Kamala Harris as the Democrat candidate is on a variety of issues, that's all well and good. Now, this might be a little bit dangerous, what I'm asking to do, because I don't know how many of you out there would be willing to do it. But I'm going to try anyway, because I genuinely want to know the answer to this question, or this series of questions. So I was out earlier today. I had an opportunity to go out and play golf with a couple of friends early this morning because I was not on in my normal time slot between noon and 3. I was shifting to the afternoon time slot. Took advantage of that. And I felt like I was playing hooky. I really wasn't playing hooky on anything or anybody, but that's the way I felt. I felt like I was doing something I wasn't supposed to do. Like I was skipping school. But as I was talking to my 3 buddies I was playing golf with, none of us, and I understand we live in the state of Tennessee, but there are many people that will vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in this state. Now, obviously not a majority, not even close to it. Tennessee remains ruby red, as does Alabama, as does Florida, thankfully, as does many of the states. I mean, I'm sad to note that I left to Georgia, and Georgia went to hell in a handbasket over there. I don't know what they're doing over there. They're a toss-up, for goodness sake. But I don't know or do not communicate with anyone, and maybe it's the nature of what I do for a living, and that's what I thought, that maybe Harris Walz supporters, I guess I could go to my neighbor and ask him. Have you heard this story, Chris, that my neighbor put up a...
Oh, I haven't heard that, no.
For 2 years, I've lived in this neighborhood in Mount Juliet. For 2 years, I've had a very friendly relationship with my neighbor who will go unnamed just in case somebody knows who he is. I don't want to cast aspersions based on what I know I'm about to say, but it was a friendly, we talked to golf, we had just, numerous little, between the fence line conversations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's a nice guy, and I consider him to be a smart guy. And then here, like 2 weeks ago, pops up this Harris Walz sign in his front yard. And my first words, I looked at Erica and I said, I didn't realize that he was stupid. I didn't mean anything by it. I just, So maybe I could go ask my neighbor. I don't know. But is it based on what I do? And I understand that oftentimes, I come off fairly forcefully with regard to my opinions on political matters. I understand that. I'm not trying to do that today. But I am genuinely curious if there's anyone in Middle Tennessee or listening on our platforms. We stream everywhere. You can find us on any streaming platform of your choosing. Just type in Supertalk 99.7 WTN, or you can watch us on Supertalk TV. We're up and running YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. But here in Middle Tennessee, is there anyone that would be willing to call and tell me why you support Kamala Harris and Tim Walz? It is difficult for me to understand, even if you believe in more government, even if you believe in certain aspects of the platform of the Democrat Party, it's difficult for me to understand any level of robust support of Kamala Harris on policy issues. The only thing I would say, I'm not going to argue with you. I don't want to have a debate with you. I am very genuinely curious who these people are and whether or not they exist and whether or not they are willing to speak openly about their support of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Because I can't find anybody. Now, I understand that I run in certain circles. I understand. I mean, I get all of it, right? I get that, sometimes you can't see the forest for the trees and all these things. But for this reason, I invite you, if you're a supporter of Harris, the only thing I would ask is, the only rule is that you don't bring up Donald Trump. That's it. I want to know why. I mean, and maybe you can't make it without bringing up Donald Trump. I would say to you that if you support Harris only because she's not Donald Trump, I guess that's a valid thing to say. Because I get it over and over and over again. If I do finally get to someone, and if I do finally connect with them on a level where I can try to dig down and scrub under the surface just a little bit, typically it's a lot of anger and hatred against DJT, the 45th president of the United States. So I'm opening up the phone lines on that front. If you support Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and you want to explain why you support them, I'm listening on this Friday edition of The Drive with No Brian Wilson, Matt in for Brian on Super Talk. 615-737-9986. I'll give you time to think about it. And I'll be honest, we might not get a single call, honestly. I know that liberals listen to this show. I know that liberals listen to this radio station. I've communicated with people that listen to this radio station on a regular basis that are left of center. And sometimes, in some cases, far left of center. You're not being set up. I promise you're not. But I still hesitate to think that we're going to get any calls because I don't think it's possible. I'm beginning to believe that there's nothing that Kamala Harris has said or done during her short time as a presidential candidate that represents anything of her own doing, that represents any thought or ideology unique to her. I can find no specific plan that she has championed or initiated on her own while she runs away from her time as vice president and attempts to convince the American people that it's time to turn the page. I mean, she is a part of the incumbency and she wants to turn the page. It reminds me of the scene. We've talked about it in the past on my regular show. It reminds me of the scene in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? One of the most fabulous. It is on my top 10 list. Favorite Matt Murphy movies. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Where, Charles Durning, who's Pappy O'Daniel. Maybe we should get us some of that reform, Pappy. Reform this wit. Ain't getting us no reform. We're the incumbency. They're the incumbency. I do believe that there is a strong dynamic that the media has fostered and the political left has fostered of hatred against Donald Trump. They've dehumanized him to the point that there have been 2 assassination attempts against him. But I would challenge you, if you're listening to me and you're scared to come in and talk, and I understand that. I'm not here to argue with you. I'm not here to yell at you, but I would challenge you in this way. If you cannot, in your own mind, think about worthwhile reasons to vote for Kamala Harris because she has initiated programs and plans and strategies and ideologies that you believe will better the lives of the American people and your own life. If you can't structure that concept, a paragraph as to why you support that person in your own mind that doesn't have anything to do with Donald Trump, then I would ask you, what are we even doing? Now, if you choose to vote for the lesser of 2 evils, guess what? You're still voting for evil. So while you're thinking on it, while you're thinking about it, and once again, I might not get a single call. I just want to throw it out there. I want it on record as I tried I tried to understand 45 days before an election, 45 days and roughly 6 hours before Election Day on November 5th, I tried to understand Harris voters. And to complete the circle, I'm on the golf course this morning, and I'm talking to some of my guys there, and they're like, how in the world is this? And they don't follow these things like I do, so they're kind of looking at me like, how in the world is it this close? Like, they genuinely don't understand who would vote for Kamala Harris. And I didn't have any answers for them. Because if you look at policy proposals, they are virtually non-existent. And those things that she has put out as major policy proposals, she's either withdrawn immediately after putting them out, or she's lifted them directly from Donald Trump. In terms of taxes, Kamala Harris is running around the country talking about how much she wants to eliminate federal taxes on tips. It is a proposal and an idea directly lifted from Donald Trump. And there's not even a debate about it. She says that she wants to provide a financial cushion for small businesses. She wants a tenfold increase in startup expense deductions. She also has said that she wants to up the child tax credit. She lifted that from Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance initially said that he wanted to boost the child tax credit to $5,000, and it's currently, I think, at $2,000. And he said, I want to boost it up to $5,000. And she said, oh, no, let's go to $6,000. It was like kind of a topper kind of deal. But it's the same concept, initially proposed by the Republicans. So we've got a few phone calls. We're going to get to them in just a moment on the drive. I'm very curious what you have to say about this. Plus, I'll inform you as to what the SEC is doing against Elon Musk and ultimately against the spirit of free speech. It's all to come on the drive on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Got a shooter on the run from Antioch. Details at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Oh, that means it's my turn. Thank you, Ken Weaver. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, speaking of, and I think you just heard the voice of Brian Wilson, Matt Murphy in for Brian, by the way, for those just getting in your cars and joining us. Thank you. Hope your drive's going well so far. Hope we give you some information that might drive a liberal crazy, as Brian likes to say. He is, after all, your friend and radio buddy. I'm your friend and radio troublemaker. And there you go. We're here till 7 o'clock tonight, or they throw us off, whichever comes first. But on the October 1st event, Hot Springs, Murfreesboro, fun will be had by all. We had a great time June 27th. We know how that debate went out. Vice presidential debate, J.D. Vance versus Tim Walz. Not only will we be there, Super Talk 99.7 WTN will be there, but Fox Nation's going to be there. So they were looking for locations around the country that they could broadcast live from, and they have decided that our Murfreesboro event is a perfect representation of America. And so Pete Hegseth, who is on, I think, weekly with Brian, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Am I saying his last name correctly, Chris?
Hegseth.
Hegseth?
Yes.
Hegseth.
Well, that's how Brian says it. I don't know how
Hegseth.
Pete says it.
Hegseth.
I never heard him say his last name.
Hegseth. Am I doing it right?
Yeah.
Okay, Hegseth. Pete Hegseth. Amongst others at Fox Nation, they'll do an entire show. So Brian will be doing his show on one end of the building, on the stage, in the stage area, and then on the other end, way down at the other end of the bar, you know, that little VIP area, Fox Nation will be on that side doing their thing, and we'll all be doing it together, and then we'll all watch the debate together. How about that? So if you want to meet Pete or any of the Fox Nation team, then you can come out to Hot Springs October 1st and meet everyone. They'll be out, we'll be out, and we'll have a good time. Good time will be had by all. So that should be a lot of fun. All right, ask and receive. Mark is calling in from Nashville. He says he's a Harris supporter, and we've invited Harris supporters to call in and just offer their reasons why they're supporting Kamala Harris, why they believe she's the best to lead the United States of America 2024 and beyond. Mark, thank you for calling. How are you?
Good. How are you today?
I'm great. I appreciate you answering the call.
Yeah, well, hey, I think one of the things our country doesn't do so well these days is listen to each other. So while I might not be a right-leaning guy, I try to listen to your show and listen to the drive time, and I enjoy it. So I appreciate you inviting me on to offer my take.
All right, well, let's hear it. I'll get out of the way and let you talk. Talk to us about Kamala Harris and why you support her.
Yeah, so I'm in healthcare, and I don't know if you heard about this thing that happened in Georgia with this lady dying in a parking lot. But I'm actually friends with a few OBGYNs in Tennessee and Louisiana, and this is a real thing that's happening, where ladies that have, an ectopic pregnancy or like something that's not compatible with life, they're just made to wait till they get really sick before their doctors can treat them. And I don't think the GOP has the right take on that, and I think those decisions should be left between, a woman and her doctor. And for that reason, that's why I'm a Harris person.
Yeah, you're referring to, I think it was Amber Nicole Thurman, right, who died after she took an abortifacient, some sort of abortion pill, caused complications when she did not complete. I think I have the details of this right. She took a pill that would create an abortion or cause an abortion. She had twins. Some of the unborn parts of the baby were left inside of her, and it caused serious complications, and then she eventually died at the hospital. Is that right?
Yeah, and that's I have friends that I've talked to in Louisiana, for example, who've had patients had an ectopic pregnancy, which by definition can't come to term, can't be delivered outside of the uterus. And he, as an OBGYN, was talking to the lawyers in the hospital in order to figure out if he could do his job as a board-certified OBGYN. And I mean, it just get the government out between the doctor and the women. I know that people have different timelines on abortion, but that just seems like a thing where there's just too much government in people's personal decisions. And I think I think that's one of the reasons I'm voting the way that I am. So hey, I appreciate you taking my call.
Hey, Mark, one quick question, and I'm not challenging those points of view. That's what I wanted. That's what I asked for. But I'm curious, for you personally, is there any point where the government has a responsibility to cut off the ability for a woman to abort a child, or should she have that ability for the full gestational period, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think that's a real super complicated question. I think different states have come to different answers on that. I think. Speaking only for myself, I think 6 weeks. A lot of women don't even know they're pregnant, so I think that's pretty restrictive. And all the hyperbole around, late-term abortions, those aren't happening to healthy babies. Those are happening to babies that are being born without brains, or that aren't going to survive outside the womb. So I mean, it's very nuanced, and it doesn't make for good talking points. But I can tell you, working in healthcare, it's not something that people take lightly, and the way it's talked about is really heartbreaking because, parents going through that, it's a lot. I'm a parent of an IVF kid. So when the whole IVF thing blew up a few months ago, it turned into a talking point. I now have a beautiful 1.5-year-old daughter, and to hear people talk about it like it's some sort of ill of society just didn't feel right, So I know people have gone back and forth on that, but
were you pleased with a ruby red state like Alabama handling that situation in the speedy fashion they did?
I think they realized their mistake pretty quickly.
Well, it wasn't. They support IVF as most reasonable people do.
I think almost everybody does. I think it got away from them in a way, and I'm glad they fixed it quickly. But
I would probably have a hard line. I won't bore you with it. But thank you, Mark, for the call. I mean, I have a hard line as to who politicized that issue and who did not, and it was the Democrats that politicized that issue, and not the Republicans. But I appreciate you calling in, and that's what it's all about. All right, we're late for the news break at the bottom of the hour. Ken Weaver anxiously awaits for news headlines. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Well, the search is on for a suspect in a shooting in Antioch this afternoon. It happened on Cedar Point Parkway at an apartment complex. Channel 4 says a group of kids pulled up to where some other kids were getting off of a school bus for what police were told was going to be a fight. One of the kids who got off the bus took off running and was shot. No word on the condition. Police looking for a suspect. A Texas man facing charges for threatening to kill Nashville District Attorney Glenn Funk. 59-year-old David Aaron Bloyd of Frost, Texas, allegedly threatened to lynch D.A. Funk. The arrest affidavit says it is related to one of the marches of what officials say were hate groups here in Nashville this summer. One of the group's members got into a fight in July that led to an arrest. Well, the Department of Justice said after the arrest, one of that group's members, a Telegram user associated with the group, posted threats against Funk that included a picture of him with the caption, "Getting the rope." Right now in our nation's capital, the Secret Service releasing a report today that admits communication and drone failures before the Trump rally assassination attempt in July. Here's Acting Director Ronald Rowe.
These employees will be held accountable, and this agency has among the most robust table of penalties in the entirety of the federal government. And these penalties will be administered according to our disciplinary process.
Rowe says the agency will rely more on technology as it shifts how it operates in the aftermath of the 2 assassination attempts against former President Trump this summer. Meanwhile, in our nation's capital, the House unanimously passed a bill today to require equal standards of protection to major presidential candidates as sitting presidents. Now it goes to the Senate. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. Conducting a little experiment on this Friday edition of The Drive with no Brian Wilton. While Brian's away, the Murph will play. My name is Matt Murphy. Glad to have you with us. Ken Weaver's back in the newsroom. Chris Webber is, what does Brian like to say? He's pushing the blinky buttons. I like to say he's making sure that everything that comes out of your speaker sounds as good as humanly possible, and it's hard work with me in the studio.
You know, it's not actually accurate what Brian says because none of these lights actually blink. They're either on or off.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I never corrected it. I always kind of felt bad about it.
I mean, I guess if you just sit there and repeatedly push them.
Yeah, if I just go on, off, on, off, on, off.
Then they're
blinking.
Then they're blinking.
I guess that's true.
Yeah, right. Sure. You know, there was a time, and you've probably been around. I know Weaver's been around long enough. No offense, Ken Weaver. But there was a time. Y'all remember when, like, school groups used to tour radio stations?
Yeah.
Y'all are, and like Boy Scout troops or Girl Scout troops or just school groups?
We've had a group here since I've been here.
Mm-hmm.
Radio stations, I feel like, I mean, maybe it was just the music nature of them, but they used to be impressive.
Yeah, I always felt bad when they come in here and I'm like, this is disappointing, right?
I feel the same way.
Letdown.
It's kind of it's a computer terminal which they see in their classrooms or at home.
Yeah.
It's a microphone, and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the kids, you say, hey, you want to see me get on the radio? Yeah. And so all they do is see a little fat guy talking into a microphone.
That's exactly right. It's like
they're going, well, big deal.
That's not very impressive. But, I mean, back in the day, man, you come in and there's turntables and there's reel-to-reel machines and there's lights going off everywhere and there's things moving and there's cart machines and there's people moving and shaking and smoking 4 packs of cigarettes a shift.
I was going to say half a Winston smoldering in the tray.
Ashes all over the console.
Hey, kids, come on in here. Let me show you how to slip cue a 45. Slip cue. Oh, man. Those were the days. Anyway, it's not that impressive. But here we are, and we're here till 7 o'clock one way or the other. So we actually got one more liberal than I thought we would. The little thought experiment was, can we talk? And look, I appreciate the previous caller whose name I've already forgotten, and I apologize for that. So his issue that he brought up that leads him to support Kamala Harris was the issue of abortion and the government's role in determining when a woman can no longer make a decision such as that regarding her own body and regarding a baby inside of her own body, when the cutoff is. And I asked him when the cutoff was, and he goes, well, you know, that's a complicated thing. Well, here's the thing. Kamala Harris lied during the last debate. Or at very least, she misspoke. You know, if you wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt, you could say that she didn't lie about it because she didn't know she was not telling the truth. And a lie, the definition of a lie is saying something that you know is not true at the time that you say it. Well, she said, well, no states have abortion laws that allow abortions up until the moment of birth. Well, that's not true. 9 states do. And the District of Columbia. They have no gestational limit on the ability for a woman to have an abortion. Now, whether or not a lot of women are getting abortions or not is not the point. Right? If I've learned anything from arguing with liberals, they tell you that it is not the point that these things don't happen very often. If we can save the life of one child, then the conversation is worth it. The point is, should that be legal or illegal? Is there a cutoff that should happen prior to the moment of birth? And in multiple states, including Minnesota, where Tim Walz remains as governor, that's not true. Now, as far as the example that he brought up, I want to talk about that because you're going to hear a good bit about this over the next 45 days. Kamala Harris believes that one of the few issues that is a winning issue that she can truly run on is the issue of abortion. And she believes that if she pushes this issue enough that she can get squishy, middle-of-the-road, non-committed female voters. I'm not saying that they're squishy because they're female. I'm not saying they're middle of the road because they're female. They're all of those things in combination. But particularly women are swayable more so than men on the issue of abortive rights that the liberals commonly refer to as reproductive rights. And so Kamala Harris will be talking about a young mother, she said, that should be alive, raising her son and pursuing her dream of attending nursing school. This is exactly what we feared, said Vice President Harris's statement. What would happen when Roe v. Wade was struck down? They use the example of a Georgia resident by the name of Amber Nicole Thurman as a reason why you should vote Kamala Harris. State abortion bans, Kamala Harris said this past week, are, quote, preventing doctors from providing basic medical care. That is a factually inaccurate statement. She also went on to say other factually inaccurate things like, quote, women are bleeding out in parking lots, turned away from emergency rooms, losing their ability to ever have children again, and now women are dying. A, women are not bleeding out in parking lots, except that there are some women that do die on their way to the hospital or at the hospital because they are unable to be saved for a variety of different issues. So to say that women don't bleed, I'm not saying that women don't bleed out in parking lots in as much as maybe they do, because they do not get to the care that they need to save their lives prior to getting to that care. But nobody is bleeding out in a parking lot because the doctors in an emergency room say, we're not going to take care of you. That does not happen, ever. Ever. If a woman comes to an emergency clinic, that woman will be taken care of. If a woman is having a medical emergency in which she is bleeding, no matter where she's bleeding from, and no matter the cause of that, she will be taken care of. Harris went on to say, these are the consequences of Donald Trump's actions. There is so much at stake in this election, including restoring the freedoms that have been taken away from us. In response to the report, a spokesperson for Governor Brian Kemp, governor of the state of Georgia, defended the law passed by Georgia and pointed to steps the governor has taken in the state to improve maternal health, such as extending Medicaid coverage for women who have just given birth to 6 months, $1 million in a pilot program to expand maternal health in rural communities. It's self-evident that dangerous misinformation places patients' lives at risk, which is why getting the facts is vitally important. So this woman, Amber Nicole Thurman, had a pregnancy that was unwanted. It was twin babies. She went to North Carolina, I believe it was, because Georgia had a law that kicked in that I think was a 6-week law. And she went to North Carolina to terminate the pregnancy. She missed her appointment in North Carolina, so she couldn't terminate the pregnancy. But she got abortion pills. After she returned to Georgia with her abortion pills in hand, she took those pills, and the pills did not act in the fashion that they should. In other words, some of the, and I'm trying to be delicate here, some of the remains of the babies were still in her uterus. So the abortion pill that she took did not act properly, which is a different subject for another day, because that's a reason in and of itself to question whether or not you should be giving these abortion pills to these women who are taking them and then they don't act properly. But so the same abortion pills that Kamala Harris wants to be legal, the same abortion pills that Kamala Harris wants to be legal and available without a prescription, y'all with me so far? Those are the pills that caused the woman to have the medical complication to the point where she developed an infection inside of her body. Doctors monitored her condition and hospitalized her. She was given care. They were attempting to commit her. I mean, they did commit her to a hospital, and they were going to perform a medical procedure so that they could remove the infected parts. And before they were able to complete that procedure, she died from the infection because of the failed abortion pill. That is the complete story. That is the story that Kamala Harris is running around the country saying, in her words, was a woman who died in the parking lot because doctors refused to give her an abortion. Does that sound like the story I just told you? But that's what Kamala Harris is saying. Now, you tell me who's politicizing this issue. I fully understand why people have different opinions on this, and I understand that it is the most difficult subject for any talk show host to discuss publicly on radio right? Or privately. It's very difficult because it is where political maneuvering and governance and the power of the government and faith and religion, they all intersect, and privacy, it all intersects right there. It's incredibly difficult to talk about. So when you have a presidential candidate running around lying about it, they also say that Donald Trump wants to initiate a federal abortion ban, which, to his possible peril politically, he has repeatedly said it wasn't true. Yet, even though I feel this way, I do appreciate the caller in their effort to illustrate why they are in support of Kamala Harris. Andy is next in Mount Juliet. Hey, Andy.
What's up?
Hey, Andy. You doing all right?
Hey, yeah, I just got one quick question. Heaven forbid if one of these assassination attempts were to work, what would we do for a presidential candidate?
I believe that, it is a party decision, Andy. But I believe the bylaws of the GOP would indicate that it would go to the vice president. I perish the thought, obviously, and it is sad that it's sad we've gotten to a place where we have to contemplate this, but sadly we do. there have already been 2 attempts. Every expectation is there'll be another one, right? I was listening to Chris Hand earlier today talk about a report that Congressman Matt Gaetz was discussing that that said that the possibility existed that there were as many as 5 assassination teams in the United States of America right now.
I heard him too. I think it's 3 foreign and 2 domestic.
Just absolutely terrifying that we don't have a better access to more security to put around Donald Trump. But to answer your question, I believe it would go to J.D. Vance, and then he would pick a vice presidential running mate that would run with him.
Okay. All right. I was just wondering about that. I appreciate your time, my friend.
Sure. And if it's close enough, I want to say, and don't quote me necessarily on this, but this is just me using the common sense that God gave me, it would go to Vance, and if it were close enough to Election Day, obviously Donald Trump would still be on the ticket. He would still be on the ballot. You've already printed those ballots. And so any vote for the Trump-Vance ticket would be a vote for Vance. I believe it would be counted in that manner. I hate that we have to have this conversation, but apparently we do. 2 assassination attempts already. I have a story about the second one and the media coverage in the aftermath of the second one that you will not believe. Maybe you've heard it already. But if you've not, you need to listen up. It's 52 after the hour. Super Talk 99.7. WTN.
Won't you take me back to Tennessee?
I'm going to give it away. We're going to do TikTok today.
Oh, TikTok or talk? Okay.
T-A-L-K.
Spring is here. Today we're going to talk about ticks. Bugs are coming out. Unfortunately, ticks are coming out. People are going to be out in the woods. First, the types of ticks.
American dog tick, the black-legged deer tick, the Lone Star tick. We've got a Gulf Coast tick. Got a new one coming in, the Longhorn tick. These are the ones we need to watch out for. 75% of vector transmitted diseases now are from ticks. Rocky Mountain spotted fever, rickelosis, tularemia, Lyme disease, almost flu-like, going to run a fever. You may or may not get a rash in the saliva. They secrete the cement to glue themselves in.
Wow. Yeah, that's great.
So you need to get some tweezers, get down on that capitulum and grab it and pull the tick off. Do not grab the body. A lot of people think ticks drop out of trees. They don't drop out of trees. And they can't jump. And they can't fly.
So they're in the leaves, on the plants and things.
On the grass, on the leaves of the grass. And they do this number with their front legs. And that's called questing. They are sensing a prey item coming by. They'll take those legs and latch on and then crawl up.
And then there you go. You're battling it.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. Speaking of traffic, bad news if you are northbound 65 and you are near Columbia. Looks like all those lanes are blocked because of a crash there. That's going to be at Bear Creek Pike. All lanes closed northbound 65 at Columbia. Right now in Nashville, the Department of Justice charging a Texas man with threatening to kill District Attorney Glenn Funk. They say it's related to one of the marches by what officials said were hate groups earlier this summer. One of the group's members was arrested after getting into a fight in July. The Department of Justice says after the arrest, someone posted an image depicting Funk getting lynched. They say they traced that social media post to 59-year-old David Aaron Bloyd of Frost, Texas, facing charges of making threats of violence against an elected official. A new report from the Secret Service admits communications and drone capabilities failure in the first Trump assassination attempt this summer. Stephen Portnoy has more.
The acting Secret Service director says his agency failed to ensure that local law enforcement would fully protect the AGR building, which shooter Thomas Crooks used as a perch.
There was an assumption that they had it covered, but there clearly was not that follow-up to make sure.
Ronald Rowe also says agents rely too heavily on cell phones to communicate. He promises accountability, and he says the service will need more technological resources and more manpower.
We need a shift in paradigm and how we conduct our protective operations.
Now, prior to the new report, the U.S. House unanimously passed a bill that requires the same level of protection to major presidential candidates as sitting presidents. Now it's up to the Senate. New information about the killing of a judge in Kentucky. Attorney Jennifer Taylor says Whitesburg is a tight-knit Appalachian town of about 1,700 people, and everyone is still trying to process how Sheriff Mickey Steins could be accused of doing what he's accused of doing to Judge Kevin Mullins.
Mickey and Kevin were really close and good friends. That's the thing, is I never saw any hostilities between them. This community sort of gets along with each other.
Now, CBS News is reporting Sheriff Steins had been deposed on Monday in a federal lawsuit, claiming he failed to investigate allegations of one of his deputies having sexually abused a woman for 6 months in exchange for keeping her out of jail. That woman says that sex happened in that judge's courtroom. Right now in Aurora, Colorado, police officials holding a briefing today to say claims that Venezuelan gangs are controlling areas of the city are untrue.
Former President Trump has talked about going to Aurora, Colorado because of a video that went viral over the summer showing armed men at an apartment complex. It's been claimed they were Venezuelan gang members who have overtaken apartment complexes. Aurora Police Chief Todd Chamberlain says he wants to make it clear that is not true.
Gangs are not in control of the city of Aurora.
Contrary to claims, he says they have no evidence a gang is charging apartment residents rent or that the suspects seen in that viral video are even gang members.
That's the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. There is no Brian Wilson today. There will be a Brian Wilson sighting Monday around 3 o'clock, God willing. Matt Murphy in for Brian until 7 o'clock tonight. We hand off to the Mark Levin Show. I don't think Levin is back yet. I know he wasn't earlier in the week. Maybe last night. I was not listening last evening. Have you heard him?
I have not.
I haven't either. He had that leg injury. He's going to be okay, but the great one had a quad injury and had to have surgery. And so whomever is on the show, he'll be up at 7 o'clock tonight. I'm here till then. Your calls, 615-737-9986. I always like to open up the phone lines. Well, I do it every day, but on these Fridays, we love to hear what you have in your mind. And we hope you're getting home safe and sound. If you're still in your automobile on your way home, God bless you. Safe travels. If you're already there, we thank you for listening to us on Super Talk 99.7 WTN for as much as you can early in the morning, starting with Dan Mandis, Nashville's Morning News. Chris Hand until noon. Normally, I'm from noon until 3, and Brian Wilson in the drive from 3 until 7. There you go. Visit all of those names and many, many more coming up at our October 1st debate watch party. It will be at Hop Springs in Murfreesboro. A big shindig will be had. There will be food trucks. There will be beverages and libations, both of an alcoholic nature and a non-alcoholic nature. And Fox Nation will be there. So that's pretty cool. So they heard that we were having a party. Pete Hegseth, which I thought I knew how to pronounce his name. And after the conversation that Chris Webber and I had earlier today, now I'm doubting myself.
How were you saying it again?
Hegseth.
Oh, that's correct.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. If I don't think about the quarterback for the Tennessee Volunteers name, if I don't think about it, I can say it.
Yeah, I can't do that.
It's Nico.
That's as far as I get.
It's Iamaleava. Is that right? Iamaleava? But I just said to Weaver, and I don't think Weaver's back there right now, but I just said to Ken Weaver, I said, I want to tell you something, Weaver. He had just finished the newscast. He was walking down the hall.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm going to tell you something. And if you repeat this, I'll call you a lion, egg-sucking dog, and I will deny it until the cows come home. And he said, what's that, Brother Murphy? And I said, I'm rooting for the Sooners. But if you repeat that publicly, I'll deny it. But I just said that to him. So you don't say anything either, Weber.
No, lips are sealed.
That I was rooting for. You got a dog in that fight?
Nah, just looking for a good game.
I am looking for a good game as well, and hopefully we'll have some great games over the course of the weekend, both in the college ranks and the professional ranks. Okay, so your call's on the way coming up. We've got plenty to get into. I still have this report coming in. As a matter of fact, that's where I'm going to go before I go to calls. One would think that Donald Trump would have a respite from the attacks of the mainstream legacy media in the aftermath of the second assassination attempt against his life. Now, I'm a little late to this party in as much as this story came out yesterday morning, and so perhaps Chris or Brian or even Dan Mandis this morning has already had the story. But if you've not heard it, it is fascinating, and if you have heard it, it is worth discussing again. This is how bad it is. If you don't believe that the mainstream media, I can't believe if you're observing what's in front of us, you don't already know this. But the ABC, CBS, NBC, all of these alphabet soup networks, and including and mostly hashtag never CNN. What a garbage network full of garbage people spewing garbage. Don't watch. I'll watch so you don't have to. It's an occupational hazard that I consider an honor and a privilege. Don't watch this junk. I'll watch it. And then I'll report back. Why? Oh, here's a good reason. In the aftermath of Donald Trump's assassination, the assassination attempt against Donald Trump, the Media Research Center analyzed 69 minutes of coverage on ABC, CBS, and NBC, those three newscasts, between September 15th and September 17th. This was in the immediate aftermath of last weekend's second assassination attempt. An assassination attempt that was only thwarted because this dunderhead was so stupid to blow his cover so as to point the gun out of the branches and out of the bramble and out of the hedgerow, and the Secret Service saw it. Thank God for the stupidity of criminals. Otherwise, Donald Trump might be dead, literally dead. But even in the aftermath of that, in the coverage of it, there was still a 95% negative coverage of Trump on ABC, NBC, and CBS. Those three major networks alone on their television newscast. Network coverage of former President Donald Trump has been overwhelmingly negative since the second assassination attempt against him. According to the Media Research Center, in reviewing 69 minutes of campaign coverage, MRC reported that although the thwarted assassination attempt took up 70% of all news coverage regarding Donald Trump on the networks. So of all of the things they talked about regarding Donald Trump, 70% of it was the assassination attempt, yet even that coverage turned negative against Donald Trump. Over the 3 nights, according to the MRC, they tallied 21 evaluative comments about the GOP candidate, 20 of which were negative. That's a 95% negative rating. For example, NBC Nightly News' Lester Holt drew a comparison and a connection between Donald Trump's own rhetoric and the assassination attempt. Quote, today's apparent assassination attempt comes amid increasingly fierce rhetoric on the campaign trail itself. Mr. Trump and his running mate, J.D. Vance, continue to make baseless claims about Haitian immigrants in Ohio. Somehow putting these two stories together, that because of the baseless claims, Donald Trump is somehow at fault for the assassination attempt against him. The beatings will continue until morale improves, it seems. The MRC noted that CBS's Monday night newscast with anchor Norah O'Donnell rejected the argument and put the onus on him. Donald Trump is blaming Democrats for inflaming political rhetoric, said O'Donnell. But the former president's own words seem to be increasing the threat of political violence in Springfield. That's where a false and ugly accusation again. You see how they pivot? Well, we all know now that these bomb threats that we were told were being thrown against Springfield, Ohio, were all hoaxes. They all came from overseas. None of them had anything to do with, quote, right-wing extremism, which the suggestion was in the immediate aftermath of some of these threats. It's almost as if the media was annoyed at having to cover the fact that someone tried to kill the president of the United States, the former president of the United States of America. Can you imagine if someone, God forbid, I don't want anyone to do any violent harm to any political candidate. That is Banana Republic garbage. It's garbage. Thank God our founding fathers saw fit that we have an ability to do something about bad politicking and bad government officials at the ballot box. And we don't have to resort to that sort of thing. So I don't want any harm to come to Kamala Harris or to Tim Walz. I don't think you do either. I just want her to get destroyed politically on November 5th. However, I would suggest to you that there seem to be some in the media that, I mean, I hate to say it. Do I need to say it? There seem to be some in the media that are egging it on. And there seem to be some in the media that are bound and determined to see another one happen. We went from Butler, Pennsylvania, and the feigned shock and awe, and it was performative in nature, and you could tell they're not even pretending anymore. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they just sat around going, well, what do you expect? I mean, it's Trump. He's evil. So, you know, what do you want? How about tell your side to stop trying to kill people? How about that? How about stand up and tell your side, all of your crazies on your side, that none of your disagreements should rise to the level of trying to kill somebody? How about standing up and telling your crazies on your side, hey, guys, America is strong enough that we're going to overcome. And either we're going to win or he's going to win. And if he wins, everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. Instead, they say quite the opposite. They say, they don't insinuate, they say that if Donald Trump is elected president of the United States, that the United States of America will cease to exist. that it is an existential crisis. Why wouldn't some of these nutjob crazies consider themselves heroes by attempting to kill Donald Trump? Equally, if not more so fascinating, the mainstream media networks that decide, instead of putting aside their partisanship for a moment and celebrating a failure last weekend, they turn it against Trump and blame him. They victim blame. Well, you know, she had it coming after all. It's no surprise she was raped. She was wearing a mini skirt, says the mainstream media about the victim. How is that not the same thing? She had it coming. David's in Nashville. Hello, David. Glad you called. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm fired up, man.
That's great. Hey, before I get started, I want to say hey to Ken Weaver. I miss him in the morning, and he's a great guy. This is a story about how the left can get triggered so quickly. It's kind of long, so I'll try to shorten it. But my friend and I go to movies every week. And Am I Racist was on, and I said, hey, man, let's go to this. You know, Matt Walsh is really cool. Now, my friend says he's non-political, but it seems like he always falls to the left. And I knew that, so I was a dummy for doing this. So he seems real concerned when I get there, and I leave my car at his house, and we go in his car to Cool Springs. So he seems real concerned. Well, I don't know if I'm going to like this. Is it supposed to be funny? I looked it up, and it just seems like it's not funny, but I hope I like it. Well, we get in the car and head to Cool Springs, 5.5 to 6 miles to Cool Springs. Okay, so all this time he's very concerned. I don't know if I like this. And I said, look, he's humorous, he's funny, he's a brilliant man. He's giving you information couched in humor. You should love this. So we get there at 9 o'clock. We get set down. We watch the previews. The movie starts. Well, it's not 5 or 6 minutes before I start hearing my friend grumbling. Oh, I don't know about this. Yeah, I don't know if I like this guy. And he's whispering, but he's getting louder and louder. Now, we get 20 minutes in. All this time, he's getting louder and louder. Now, 20 minutes in is where Matt is sitting in the circle where the woman is telling everybody how crappy white people are. And Matt is doing his thing. He's kind of disrupting the whole thing. Mm-hmm. And my friend just starts talking.
And not to interrupt you, David, but I need just to catch people up. If you don't know the premise of Am I Racist, Matt Walsh pretends to be a super liberal who is exploring the nuance of racism in America and woke DEI type of things. But if you've ever seen Borat, he kind of goes undercover in that similar fashion, but more of a political nature. Go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
Well, and that's what I told my friend. I said, this guy is the best of Sacha Baron Cohen and Andy Kaufman. It's the same kind of thing. So here's Matt sitting in this circle, kind of disrupting things. And my friend just starts, I just slap him. I'd have kicked him out of there a long time ago. I don't know about this. And I looked at him and I said, dude, now we're talking just like this. No whispering anymore. I said, dude, what is your deal? If this was Sacha Baron Cohen, you'd be laughing your butt off. He said, yeah, I would, because it's different. I said, it's not different, man. Do you want to go? Well, I don't know. Let's go. And I grabbed my hat and I headed out of the theater. So by the time I get into the parking lot, I'm thinking, I'm walking all the way to get my car. So he's got in his car and he said, hey, over here. And I said, nope, I'll walk. I'm cool, man. Because what I do in my professional life, I walk a lot. So walking 6 miles is nothing. So he finally pulls up by me and said, man, I'll take you home. And I said, nope, I'm good, man. Thank you. So he takes off. Well, when his taillights disappear, I realize I paid for this movie. I want to see this movie. I'm going back in and I'm watching it. So 11 o'clock, it lets out. And I just head out. I'm going to walk to my friend's house. Well, I walk down the street. I make a little left at the bookstore, and I'm heading toward Franklin Road. Get to Franklin Road, make a right, and I'm headed to Brentwood. And I'm loving life. The moon is out. Everything's cool. I'm fine with everything. I love the movie. The man is brilliant. Uh-huh. So I get almost to Brentwood, and I hear somebody pulling up. And I turn around, and it's a cop. Hey, what's going on? I said, well, can you take me to my car? He said, well, what do you got, man? And by this time, 2 other cop cars pull up, and I go, oh, great, I'm the spectacle. So by this time, all these cops are surrounding me. I tell them the story, and I say,
David, I got to get can you hold on for like 2 minutes? I want to hear I want to hear the other side of the story, but I've got it. I'm way late. This is awesome. So David goes to the movies with his friend. The friend flakes out. David's like, I'm out. I'll see the end of the movie. Friend goes home. He's walking home, and it sounds like David's about to get arrested by the Franklin PD. We'll get to the end of the story next on Super Talk. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. All right, welcome back. A couple of minutes before the Ken Weaver newscast, and David is in the midst of a story. We've also got Teresa, Stephen, and Steve on the way. It is the it's the Brian Wilson. Godgummit. It's the Drive with Brian Wilson. Brian's not here today. My name is Matt Murphy, and it's almost time to go home for the weekend. Not a moment too soon.
Can we tell?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Not a moment too soon. I got a couple things to do before then. So David was telling this awesome story. So he and his buddy, how long did you say you guys have been friends, David?
Oh, 20, 25 years.
All right. So he and his buddy going to movies. They go to the movies together, and they want to go see, David wants to go see Am I Racist? And his buddy seems a little trepidatious about it. And you can tell that it's triggering him, and then he gets louder and louder about it. And so y'all split. You're like, I'll walk home, bud. It sounds like you kind of had, as my grandpa used to say, a belly full of it. You're walking home. You go see the rest of the movie, got to walk home about 6 miles. And then that's when, did they turn the blue lights on you, David?
No, I just heard him pull up. You know how the tires have that kind of whoosh sound, and I turn around. He's getting out of the car. Hey, man, what's happening? You're all in black. You might have problems. What's going on? And so I tell him what the situation. Didn't mention Matt Walsh at the time. I just said, can you take me to my car? So by this time, 2 more cars have pulled up, and everybody's getting out. And then I say, well, we went to see the Matt Walsh movie, and we shouldn't have done that because my friend's kind of liberal. Well, they all start laughing. They say, oh, Matt Walsh, he is so cool. I just saw a preview of that, and I want to see it so bad. This is awesome, man. So they got my ID and everything, and the one guy said, man, get in the back. I'll take you to your car. So we're heading out, and I reveal to this cop who I am and what I do. And he goes, you're kidding. And I said, no, that's me. And he said, man, I am totally into what you do. And so he's asking me questions, and I'm giving him answers all the way back to my car, and he's just loving the situation. I'm loving it because it's ending my walk on a great note. And get to my car, and he wants to stand there in the parking lot and continue discussing what I do. And we park friends. I get in my car, get home, and it's 2 o'clock. So that is all to tell you, you've got to see this movie. But don't take a liberal friend because they will get triggered. And I don't understand why liberals are triggered so easily. I don't get why they're so thin-skinned. And I would never truly have expected this from my friend. We've been friends forever, but I would not think that he would be this delicate. So anyway, it's a great movie.
All right, a couple things real quick. Have you spoken to your friend since?
Well, texted. Yeah, back and forth.
And are y'all? You think y'all are good?
I am. Okay. I assume he is. We've got plans to go see Superman. You know, the Christopher Reeve thing.
Oh yeah, that looks like a great documentary. I've not seen Am I Racist. You would recommend it though? It's well done.
I think Matt Walsh is brilliant.
Okay.
I think that he will be remembered in time as a Samuel Clemens. He's got a style that I love as an artist, and it's really cool.
All right, final question. I only got 20 seconds left. Ken Weaver anxiously awaits doing the news. You ready for the final question, David?
Yes.
Who are you and what do you do?
I can't. Well, okay,
I'll tell you what. Hit me up on the super text line and tell me, and I won't tell.
Okay.
I won't.
I'll tell you what I do.
Okay.
I won't tell you my name.
Okay.
But you can look me up, and there's a ton of stuff. I am a Bigfoot hunter. I have discovered so many things in Tennessee, Alabama. I am on the Western.
I want you to get in hold of me because I want you on my show on one of these days. Okay.
Yeah, okay. That's
hit me
cool.
up.
I lecture. I'm on podcasts all the time.
Hit me up.
There's stuff out there that can rip your head off and jam it down your bloody gullet.
Yikes! Wow.
I've heard it.
Oh my goodness.
I've
had
hope contact with these things.
I don't want that any of that. David, I got to run. I got to go. It's time for the news. Thank you, David. Hit me up. I'd love to talk to you more about Bigfoot. It's Super Talk 99.7 WTN News Time. It is The Drive. No Brian Wilson. Matt in for Brian until 7 o'clock tonight. We hand off to the Great One, or a substitute host for the Great One. He is convalescing and repairing after a fall that led to a surgical procedure on one of his legs. Be that as it may, we'd love to hear from you. In the meantime, Teresa and Steve will get to you in just a moment. Real quick, a couple of headlines that I want to get to that I promised I would get to. The SEC, that's the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, has said today that it intends to seek sanctions against Elon Musk after he failed to appear and testify in court amid the agency's probe into his $44 billion purchase of Twitter, which he renamed X. The SEC is asking for a court order to show cause why the Tesla CEO and SpaceX owner should not be held in civil contempt after he said he would not appear a mere 3 hours before the scheduled September 10th testimony. Well, it was about a year ago that Joe Biden said he would get Elon Musk one way or the other, and apparently he's making good on his promise. New Hampshire is the site of a parent seeking remedy and speaking out after he says he was banned from school grounds for wearing pink armbands with 2 X's on them. The New Hampshire parent, Anthony Foote of Bow, told the New Hampshire Journal he received a notice of trespass from Bow and Dunbarton school districts, specifically Superintendent Marcy Kelly, because he wore armbands to a sporting activity at his daughter's high school soccer game. It just so happened that he was wearing the 2 pink armbands, each with 2 X's on them, while his daughter's soccer team was playing another soccer team that had a boy on the girls' soccer team. Foote told the publication, "My daughter's playing in the homecoming game this weekend. I'm banned until the 23rd. I can't watch her play at homecoming, which is ridiculous. And the only reason that he has been banned is because he wore pink armbands with 2 X's on them, representing, obviously, the 2 X chromosomes," making a bit of a political statement there. I expect that if he wanted to file a lawsuit, he might have a good opportunity to win said same. Copy of the notice obtained by the New Hampshire Journal accused Foote of leading, quote, a protest that was designed to and had the effect of intimidating, threatening, harassing, and discouraging the student on the opposing team. Well, maybe if you're a boy and you have an XY chromosome and you play a girl's sport, you would expect that some people would have a little bit of concern for that. Teresa, you are up next out of Fayetteville. Thank you for your call. How are you?
Hey, Matt, I'm doing well.
Good.
I'm not going to be as pragmatic as your last one. It's interesting, but I am definitely going to give you something to think about. It kind of runs along with what you were saying earlier before your last caller. I'm tired of the gaslighting. There is no doubt in my mind in Aurora, Colorado, in Springfield, that what is being stated is being said. Now, that being said, I've done some research. You talk to the people who actually live there. This stuff is happening. Kamala Harris goes on and talks about how good the economy is, and the media just runs with it. But now you've got these politicians, the sheriff that's coming out in Colorado, saying, oh, no, this is not happening. The people that live there beg to disagree. And then you have the mayor of Springfield coming out and does not want Trump there, because of everything that's going on. Well, the only reason Trump's wanting to go there is to get a first-hand account, in my opinion, so that he can report back of what is going on there. Would you agree?
So I don't know. There's obviously politics going on in Springfield, Ohio, right? And there are liberals in charge of that city that don't want to highlight how that city is going into the pits because of Haitian immigrants that are coming in either on temporary work visas or illegally and doing what they do. There are obviously problems in Springfield there is a cultural chasm. There is a cultural divide that exists in Springfield, right? That is obvious because of the nature of the divide. And so I don't need to see cats on a grill to know that. Now, there is obviously also evidence that there's been some of that going on. It's not been widespread. But for me, the focus should be on the fact that we have a federal government that has decided that it's going to clandestinely, under the cover of darkness, bring people in to communities like Springfield, Ohio, like Sylacauga, Alabama, and many, many others, and just to dump, in some cases, tens of thousands of illegal labor into those communities, or in some cases, legal labor on temporary visas, which obviously they immediately overstay. So it is clear beyond a shadow of a doubt that the media does not want to talk about the overwhelming issues that surround illegal alien immigration coming into the United States of America. I hope does that answer does that speak to your point, Teresa?
Yeah, and I will, just because you mentioned the cat on the grill, I think Trump used that as a fear or just to get people riled. I don't think he should have used that one, but he could have used the crime rate, what's going on with the citizens there going into the council meetings, voicing their opinions, their concerns, all that kind of stuff. But my thing is, let the man go ahead and come on in there and either disprove what he's saying,
sure,
or let him plead it.
Sure.
I don't care which.
Well,
so anyway, I don't.
And Teresa, thank you for the call. I appreciate it. But without Donald Trump making that accusation at the debate, we wouldn't have the tens of thousands of incredible memes on social media. I cannot tell you the joy that I get. And I guess I'm a dog lover. I've had dogs all my adult life. I've never been blessed with children. And so, your dogs become your kids. You know how it goes. So I'm a dog guy, and I guess my algorithm angles me on social media to dog videos and whatever, which I love. The number of dog videos that I've gotten where but like the dogs are just going along. It's like two dogs. If you're watching on Super Dog TV, they're just going along, and you hear in the background. And so here's what I'm going to tell you, and you just listen up now. The dogs are going along. They're eating the dogs. And the dogs, what? And the timing on some of these things, they're eating the cats. And what? What did he say? They're eating the pets. And then they run off. It's so good. It's just, so without that, we wouldn't have any of that. And what would life be without a good laugh? Whether it's real or not, I don't know that it's widespread. I mean, it's obviously not widespread. Okay, so let's start there. It's not a widespread phenomenon. Has it happened once or twice? Is it a one-off? Do you have homeless people doing this? Do you have illegal aliens doing this? I guarantee you that you do. Does this give the liberals an ability to move us away from the more important point? Yes, because suddenly we're debating whether or not Haitians are eating dogs or cats, instead of debating why in the hell are the Haitians here to begin with? And what are we going to do to stop it? Which is where I want to live and breathe. Stephen is next. Hey, Stephen, I've got about a minute, but I'm going to give it to you, my friend.
Okay, let me try to crush this in, man. Give you some food for thought. I'm not trying to form a conspiracy theory here. And but on this assassination attempt stuff, we heard recently, I don't know how far you guys have dug into this or if you know anybody that has. Who has ever heard of an assassination team before an assassination attempt? I mean, there's just so many factors that factor into this. This stuff seems like it's something out of the Clinton playbook. Clintons are historical for making people go away, and they're the beginning of all this selling us out. Years ago, they started selling us out, and I think they're the ones that sit at the center of this deep state stuff. But when you think of assassination team, if something does happen to Trump, God forbid,
yes, very quick,
something does happen to Trump, I think we need to look closer to the people that are more closer to him, not some Iran patsy group or some assassination team. Do you see what I'm getting at here?
Well, I do, I do and I don't. I don't know what you mean that we need to look at someone close to Trump. I don't think anybody in Trump's inner circle is aware of or responsible for any assassination attempt on his life. I have to leave it there. I'd like to go further, but I can't. It is 49 after the hour. Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Here's what I want from you folks. This is all I ask of you. Spend some time, if you're able, over the weekend with family and friends. And don't think about politics for a couple of minutes, or even a couple of hours, or even a couple of days. Remember those that make our weekends fun. You know, the EMTs, the police officers, the firefighters, the nurses, the doctors, even the restaurateurs, the convenience store workers, all of those people, those weekend warriors that help make our weekends what they are. Remember them. Thank them. Don't think about politics for a minute. And then come Monday at 5 a.m. in the morning, there's Dan Mandis, and he'll be there for you to catch you up on everything that you missed out on. And we'll be here from noon until 3 for me, and Brian will be back on the drive from 3 until 7. Have a wonderful weekend, folks. For Chris Weber, Ken Weaver, and the rest of the gang, hug your loved ones. So long, everybody.